Chapter 606. With a wave of Qin Shilua's right hand, Sun Hao's body flew out uncontrollably. Falling behind Qin Shilua, her figure flashed and disappeared at the entrance of the hall. When he appeared again, he was already in the hall. The floor of the hall was made of blue stone. In the center, there was an ancient bronze coffin. Above the ancient coffin, black surged. Countless black runes surged around the ancient bronze coffin. The surging energy kept circling on the ancient bronze coffin. Come and sit here. I will give you the inheritance. I hope you can cherish the energy left by me. There were bursts of voices coming from the ancient bronze coffin. Every sentence was extremely tempting. Qin Shilua's eyes bloomed with a strange light, and she couldn't wait to rush forward. However, she didn't move. She looked at Sun Hao with a smile on her face. Sun Hao, don't worry. Wait for me to get the inheritance. Then I will kill you. My inheritance? How can you get it if you want to? Sun Hao snorted coldly. Ha! Qin Shilua looked up to the sky and laughed, extremely proud. Your inheritance? At this moment, do you still understand whose inheritance this is? Let me tell you, this is the inheritance left by the Tao Master, not by the Tao Ancestor. Qin Shilua smiled and stared at Sun Hao. Tao Master, is it left by Tao Qingyang? Sun Hao asked. Yes. Qin Shilua smiled slightly. It seems that you are not so stupid. How do you know that I can open the inheritance of Tao Qingyang? Sun Hao asked. It seems that you have not recovered any memory at all. Then I will reluctantly tell you. Because you were the best brothers in your previous life. After you became the Tao Ancestor, Tao Qingyang was the Tao Master, and the two of them were on an equal footing. It is reasonable to obtain the inheritance of Tao Qingyang. Sun Hao listened to these words. His face was full of sadness. He lowered his head and didn't say a word. That appearance, as if to accept all this. Despair gradually filled his face. Seeing the appearance of the once high and mighty Tao Ancestor like this, it makes me a little reluctant to kill you. I will become an eternal legend, an existence that kills the Tao Ancestor. At this point, Qin Shilua laughed again. His crazed appearance was indescribable. After a long time, she finally calmed down. Phew! Qin Shilua took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the ancient coffin. Then she sat down cross-legged. Phew! The endless black airflow rushed down in an instant and wrapped Qin Shilua up. Sizzle. These black streams of air, mixed with incomparably surging energy, surged all over his body. Everywhere it went, it was as if it had been electrocuted. All the cells in his body became active. Oh! Qin Shilua let out a loud cry of comfort. Her aura was rapidly strengthening. What a tremendous amount of energy. If I can absorb all of it, reaching Saint Spirit 5, Dan wouldn't be a problem at all. As expected of the inheritance left behind by the Tao Lord. It's really powerful. Qin Shilua muttered to himself, and the light in his eyes flickered. She tried her best to absorb it madly. As time passed, the black gas shrouding the ancient bronze coffin became less and less. In the end, it completely disappeared. Qin Shilua opened his eyes, and two rays of light burst out. The aura of the third level of the Saint Spirit realm whistled out, covering all directions. Kacha! The sound of joints exploding was continuous. Qin Shilua clenched his fists excitedly, and it took a long time for him to slowly loosen them. It's a pity that I only reached the third level of the Saint Spirit realm. However, I feel that my strength has increased by at least 10 times, far from what the second level of the Saint Spirit realm can compare with. Qin Shilua muttered to himself, took a long sigh of relief, and stared directly at Sun Hao. Sun Hao, thank you for all this. I'll give you a choice. Tell me, how do you want to die? Qin Shilua looked at Sun Hao, showing an expression of controlling everything. Die? Sun Hao changed his haggard look and looked at Qin Shilua with a smile. You're so sure of this, see? Seeing Sun Hao's expression, Qin Shilua looked startled, and a sense of uneasiness flashed away. Could it be that this guy still has some trump cards? It's impossible. I've calculated the strength he showed. The inheritance was also absorbed by me. Where did his trump card come from? It must be pretentious to scare me. Thinking of this, Qin Shuo raised the corner of his mouth, stepped forward, and stepped in front of Sun Hao. Then he stretched out his palm and grabbed Sun Hao's neck. Death is imminent, and you still dare to talk nonsense. Die! Qin Shuo's palm exerted force, as if to grab Sun Hao's neck in powder. At this time, Sun Hao's body suddenly struggled out of Qin Shuo's bondage and moved 2 steps back. At the same time, he stretched out his fist, aimed at Qin Shuo's palm, and blasted it over. Qin Shuo's eyes widened, showing an unbelievable expression. She wanted to retreat, but there was no time. Boom! There was a loud noise. This punch was like the explosion of a star. The terrifying power all fell on Qin Shuo's palm. The Saint Spirit barrier on her body kept shaking, as if it would explode at any moment. Tap tap, Qin Shuo's body stepped straight back, looking at Sun Hao in astonishment. How is this possible? How could your body resist the attack of the 3rd level of the Saint Spirit? Qin Shuo muttered to herself, her face full of disbelief. Although she was at the 3rd level of the Saint Spirit realm, she was afraid that even the 4th level of the Saint Spirit realm couldn't deal with her. A little guy, relying on his body alone, could blast her back. How was this possible? Qin Shuo kept shaking her head, unwilling to believe everything in front of her. The next second, her pupils contracted, and her face changed drastically. She saw Sun Hao had already appeared in front of her, raised his fist, and blasted over. This punch, unexpectedly, blasted at Qin Shuo's stomach. Boom! The whole hall was buzzing and trembling. Qin Shuo's body flew out upside down and hit the bronze coffin heavily. Boom! Her body fell to the ground, bowing on the ground like a shrimp, showing a painful expression. The yellow bile seemed to be about to be spat out. Oh! Qin Shuo recovered after taking a few breaths of cold air. She struggled to stand up and looked at Sun Hao, showing a look of unwillingness. Looking at Qin Shuo, who stood up, Sun Hao's eyes showed a trace of surprise. It seems that 10% of the power can only hurt you. It's really beyond my expectation. This sentence, like a thunderclap, struck Qin Shuo's mind. Her heart felt like it was hit by a storm, and she couldn't calm down for a long time. For a long time, she recovered her shock and stared at Sun Hao, as if to see through him. Sun Hao, you hit it deep enough. The strength of your body has reached this level. However, if you want to defeat me with your body, it's far from enough. Chapter 607. Oh, on Qin Shuo's body, black gas rushed up. From every hole in her body, like the cry of a steam engine, shook the entire hall, trembling. Ah! Qin Shuo let out a shrill scream. Every strand of hair on his body stood upright. That scene, like a peerless demon, made people's hearts tremble. Sun Hao looked at this scene and did not move. In his eyes, there was a look of caution. A moment later, oh! Qin Shuo's black hair danced wildly, and her whole aura expanded several times. In her eyes, it was as dark as ink without any white eyes. On the claws, the sharp nails seemed to be able to tear everything. Sun Hao, you forced me to do this. The 4th level of the Holy Spirit realm. With my innate holy treasure, how can you be my opponent? Now kneel down and beg for mercy. I can spare your life. Qin Shuo's voice was like thunder, echoing throughout the hall. She stared at Sun Hao as if she wanted to swallow him. However, Sun Hao's face did not change at all. He just looked at Qin Shuo calmly. Don't talk. Scared silly? In that case, I will break your arm first. Qin Shuo was crazy. Her body danced wildly and appeared on Sun Hao in an instant. Terrifying power penetrated from her fingertips, aimed at Sun Hao's arm, and grabbed over. Seeing that, she was about to catch Sun Hao. At this time, plop, a sound rang out. Qin Shuo's body uncontrollably knelt down in front of Sun Hao, and her strength was exhausted, and she could not stand up. Ah! The mournful roar shook the entire hall until it buzzed. Qin Shuo seemed to have been punished with extreme pain. Gradually, her strength was exhausted, and her whole body crawled on the ground, without a trace of struggle. Qin Shuo's face was full of unwillingness, and she raised her head slightly and looked at Sun Hao. When she saw the item in Sun Hao's hand, her face changed dramatically, and she didn't believe it. This is impossible. How can you have Chaos Spirit Bead? Qin Shilua's words were full of surprise. Hearing this, Sun Hao smiled slightly. Looking at the black crystal ball in his hand, he nodded secretly. So this is called Chaos Spirit Bead. This thing was given to him by Ning Mingji not long ago. He didn't expect that he would be able to restrain Qin Shilua here. Today, if not for this primal chaos profound bead, everything would have been hard to say. What? You actually don't know that this is a primal chaos profound bead? Then how can you control all of this? Qin Shilua looked at Sun Hao with a puzzled expression. Sun Hao smiled faintly, revealing an expression of being in control of everything. Because your performance is too brainless. Your intention is so obvious. How can I not see it? You can see my realm? Qin Shilua asked. Not at all. There's no need for that. I've noticed you since a long time ago. Your purpose is also too obvious. You want to borrow my hand to open the inheritance and then reap the benefits. Sun Hao said, if that's the case, then why do you still dare to follow me like this? Could it be because of the primal chaos profound bead? Qin Shilua asked. That's not it. Sun Hao smiled and shook his head. Then why? There are two reasons. Firstly, my physical body is strong enough to deal with a fourth-level saint spirit. As soon as these words came out, Qin Shilua's eyes widened, revealing an expression of disbelief. No wonder. Qin Shilua looked dispirited, showing a face of unwillingness. What's the second reason? The second reason is that this Dao Qingyang's inheritance is not something that anyone can obtain just because they want to. What you obtained is not the inheritance of the Dao Qingyang puppet. As soon as the words fell, rumble, like a thunderbolt, it directly hit Qin Shilua's head. She looked at Sun Hao and kept shaking her head. This is impossible. How can this be the inheritance of the puppet? You must be lying. You want to deceive me in this way? Don't even think about it. Qin Shilua supported her trembling body and stood up. Her face was pale, and she stared at Sun Hao. Sun Hao smiled faintly and squeezed gently. Buzz, the primal chaos profound bead shook. It seemed to affect the power of Qin Shilua's body, and it vibrated with the primal chaos profound bead. Infinite black gas rushed up from Qin Shilua's body and quickly flew towards the primal chaos profound bead. Qin Shilua held a colorful stone tightly in her hand. Above the stone, a terrifying power burst out, frantically resisting the power above the primal chaos profound bead. However, it was useless. The stone could not resist the primal chaos profound bead at all, and could only let it devour Qin Shilua's power clean. Plop! Qin Shilua fell unsteadily and fell heavily to the ground. The power in her body was devoured clean, just like a mortal. She could no longer support the colorful stone and let it roll to Sun Hao. This is an innate, holy treasure. Sun Hao picked up the colorful stone on the ground and looked at it in his hand. His eyes couldn't help but shine. Heaven-mending spirit stone? Sun Hao held this stone, and there was a rush of information. This stone was condensed from the essence of heaven and earth, and it contained a shocking power. Later, after nuance refining, the power inside was more pure and condensed. Its quality was much stronger than the primal chaos profound bead in his hand. This thing was just a waste in Qin Shilua's hands. She could only exert 1/10,000th of her power. However, with her current strength, she could only exert 1,000th of her power at most. When she reached the Holy Spirit, she would be able to exert 1% of her power. At that time, how strong she would be was probably unimaginable. No, seeing Sun Hao put the heaven-mending spirit stone into the soul space, she let out an unwilling roar. Sun Hao smiled slightly, standing in front of Qin Shilua, looking down at her. Say, what are your last words? Last words? Qin Shilua looked startled, showing a face of disbelief. You want to kill me? Do you know who I am? I am the general of the Dark Taboo. If you touch me, the Dark Taboo will not let you go. Qin Shilua said lightly. The threat was very obvious. Sun Hao smiled coldly. His face did not change. He walked towards Qin Shuo step by step, cold, killing intent, without any concealment. Seeing Sun Hao unmoved, Qin Shilua's face changed dramatically. A fatal crisis enveloped her heart. She wanted to escape, but how could she escape when she had become immortal? Now it was extremely difficult to even move. At this moment, she was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Don't force me. Stop. When I summon the Lord, I will let your soul fly away and scatter. Qin Shilua let out a burst of roar. However, it didn't work at all. Soon, Sun Hao stood in front of Qin Shilua. It seems that you have finished saying your last words. Sun Hao smiled slightly, stretched out his palm, aimed at Qin Shilua's head, and pressed it down. How dare you? Lord, help! Qin Shilua shouted this sentence loudly with all her strength. Chapter 608. My lord, help! Qin Shilua's voice contained some kind of power, spreading out and spreading in all directions. This sound caused the entire hall to tremble. The echo echoed in the hall and did not dissipate for a long time. After a long time, the surroundings gradually calmed down. Sun Hao stopped and looked around in a daze, showing a vigilant look on his face. After waiting for a while, there was no response from all around. Qin Shilua lowered her head, showing a dispirited look. The whole person seemed to be dozens of years older, haggard. I was abandoned by the Lord, do it. Qin Shilua closed her eyes and waited quietly for death. 2 lines of tears fell from the corners of her eyes. In that case, I will fulfill your wish. After saying that, Sun Hao stretched out his palm and continued to press towards Qin Shilua's head. Seeing that, Qin Shilua was about to be crushed into powder. At this time, Sun Hao stopped, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. You don't beg for mercy, have some backbone. I will give you a chance to live. Now recognize me as the Lord. I can spare your life. Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Qin Shilua's face changed. Finally, a firm look appeared on her face. If you want to kill me, I will never frown. Sun Hao looked startled, and surprise was written all over his face. Unexpectedly, she didn't rebel even if she was abandoned. It was really unexpected. What benefits did the dark taboo give her to make her so loyal? Is the dark taboo worth your sacrifice? Sun Hao asked. Qin Shilua smiled coldly. What the Lord did is not what you can imagine. Don't talk nonsense, kill me. Qin Shilua closed her eyes and waited quietly for death. However, Sun Hao did not kill. The corner of his mouth raised, revealing a treacherous smile. Since you want to die, I won't let you die. I will refine you into a puppet and let your consciousness watch how I obliterate the dark taboo in the flesh. Wouldn't it be interesting? After saying that, Sun Hao took out the Chaos Xian bead and placed it in his hand. Buzz, the Chaos Xian bead began to tremble. Wisps of black silk rushed up from the Chaos Xian bead and rushed straight to Qin Shilua. Seeing these black Qin Shilua's face changed greatly. No, she let out an unwilling roar. In less than a moment, her voice gradually stopped, and her face gradually became calm. Phew! Qin Shilua's aura increased rapidly. Gotcha! In just an instant, his cultivation had reached the 2nd layer Saint Spirit realm. However, this did not stop. Her strength continued to surge. Not long after, Qin Shilua had reached the 5th level of the Holy Spirit realm. A surging aura swept out in all directions. She slowly opened her eyes. There was no emotion on her face. She looked like a puppet. Plop! Without any hesitation, Qin Shilua knelt down. Greetings, Master. Qin Shilua knelt in front of Sun Hao and kowtowed. Get up. Stand aside and watch as I obtain Dao Qingyang's inheritance. Sun Hao looked at Qin Shilua and said. These words did not seem to be said to the puppet Qin Shilua, but to the consciousness inside. No, in Qin Shilua's mind, the consciousness was so suppressed that it could not breathe smoothly and could not move at all. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't struggle. She was like a passerby watching her body being controlled, and she was powerless. Moreover, with her consciousness, she couldn't die even if she wanted to. She could only look at everything around her, Yes, master. Qin Shiluo stood up expressionlessly. Sun Hao glanced at Qin Shiluo and nodded with satisfaction. A puppet was formed just like that. Moreover, this puppet would never betray unless he agreed. The master of the 5th level of the Holy Spirit realm turned out to be just a puppet of himself. If this were to be said, even if Nuan knew, she would probably be shocked and drop her chin, right? Sun Hao's face showed a smug look, and he didn't care about Qin Shiluo's body, which was hiding in his mind and roaring. Tap, tap. Sun Hao walked to the front of the bronze coffin, and the corner of his mouth raised a happy smile. Qin Shiluo, don't you know that inside this coffin is the real inheritance? Now let me get it. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his hand and gently pulled forward. Buzz, there was a vibration on the bronze coffin. The heavy friction sound slowly sounded. The coffin lid slowly floated up and floated in midair. A phantom stepped out and floated in midair. This phantom was extremely handsome, with a stylish body, and there was no fault to be found. Even compared with Sun Hao, it was not much worse. The whole thing looked natural, and there was no fault to be found. You are the big brother. Seeing Sun Hao, the phantom trembled with excitement. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Sun Hao in an instant. Are you Dao Qingyang? Sun Hao asked. Hearing this, the phantom was so excited that his eyes were full of tears. Big brother, I didn't expect you to remember me. Sun Hao smiled slightly with a bitter face. He still remembered a fart. Big brother, you are here. The dark era must have started, right? The phantom asked. Yes. Sun Hao said. Is that thing also going to start? The phantom's eyes were full of worry. That thing? Sun Hao looked puzzled. Universe Mad Demon, big brother, have you forgotten? That's an existence that can destroy a universe with one punch. One punch can burst out countless destructive rays. The phantom said one sentence at a time, his voice solemn. Destructive rays? Is it gamma rays? At this point, Sun Hao's scalp was numb. Wherever that kind of ray went, it could destroy everything. The highest energy in the universe, even a star, would be destroyed in front of that energy. The degree of terror was unimaginable. Were those cosmic giants the universe mad demons? Were they going to find the 3 realms? Sun Hao thought secretly, his face full of worry. Big brother, this is a little inheritance I left for you. I hope you can accept it and make good use of it. It's up to you to deal with the universe mad demons. My inheritance can't be compared with Big Brother's. It will take a while for Big Brother to refine it all. Please guard your mind, Big Brother. I'm going to start. Hearing this, Sun Hao did not dare to be careless. After sitting cross-legged on the ground, he began to guard his mind. Whoosh! Hundreds of millions of strands of golden light rushed up from the phantom's hand and went straight to Sun Hao. Ooh! These golden lights, with a terrifying aura, rushed down from the top of Sun Hao's head and rushed in the meridians. The meridians of Sun Hao's whole body were like burning, extremely uncomfortable. Sun Hao gritted his teeth, showing a painful expression. He let this force gallop in his body, and he did not resist. These surging forces were slowly refined by Sun Hao. Chapter 609. In the sky above the battlefield, when the countdown pointed to 0, the sky suddenly shook. Buzz, wisps of white light flew out of the ripples in the sky, entangling rapidly in the sky. In less than a moment, it condensed into a white giant. He stood in the center of the red and blue camps, like a god overlooking mortals. At this moment, as long as they were in the battlefield, they could see this white giant. Most of these people were controlled by some mysterious force, like puppets, unable to control their own bodies at all. Of course, there were also some people who were not controlled by the mysterious force. In addition to the people saved by Sun Hao, there were also Yao Zhuqian, Yao Zishuan, and others. They looked at the white giant, all showing a face of excitement. The once-in-10,000 years battle is about to begin. Anyone who participates in the battle will have a point token. This point token will automatically match points according to everyone's strength. Those who survive in the end, the top 10, will have different rewards. The white giant explained each and every rule very clearly. These words seemed to be said to Yao, Jiuqian, and the others could not move at all. After the white giant finished speaking, he stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Buzz, the world trembled. Countless points, tokens formed out of thin air and flew in all directions. In the blink of an eye, it fell on top of everyone's head. Above the points token, wisps of white light flew down and enveloped everyone. 5288. A series of numbers appeared above everyone's head. The largest number actually reached tens of thousands, and Yao Jiuqian was one of them. As for Ning Mingji and the others, they were hiding in the dark at the moment and were not discovered by the white giant. In other words, the white giant could not find them. It's about to start. Ning Mingji looked at the sky, his eyes revealing a touch of killing intent. Master Mingwu, this giant's strength is only at the 9th stage of the Saint Realm. With our current strength, killing him is easy. Why don't we move? Hearing this, Ning Mingji shook his head slightly. If I'm not wrong, he's just a clone of the Son of Heaven. There's no point in killing him. Now, there are still many brothers who have not been rescued. When everyone rescues them all, we will move the clone of the Son of Heaven. Ning Mingji said. Okay. Everyone nodded and waited quietly. The variant war begins now. A thunderous roar rang out. The white giant's body exploded into countless strands of light, bringing all the participants to the battlefield. The scenery changed. Seeing this, the participants of the battle widened their eyes in astonishment. They saw kill. The sounds of battle continued to ring out. The natives of the red and blue sides had already started fighting. Saber light and sword shadows intersected continuously. The scene of flesh and blood splattering was displayed on the screen. On the ground, blood flowed like a river. It was a tragic scene that could not be described with words. However, these people did not stop. On the contrary, they rushed forward even more recklessly. The blood had completely stimulated their bestial instincts, causing them to lose all rationality. Look! A cry of surprise broke the silence. As the voice rang out, everyone's eyes turned to look behind them. When they saw the army participating in the war, their eyes lit up and they revealed expressions of excitement. The deity army is here, charge. Victory is in sight, kill them all. At this moment, these natives were all excited as if they were injected with chicken blood. Then, they stepped forward and continued to rush forward. Poochie, boom! The sound of metal piercing into flesh and blood, the sound of explosions and screams intertwined and turned into a battlefield symphony. Kill! The participants of the battle rushed forward uncontrollably. They roared loudly. Swish! All kinds of skill lights flew out from their hands and exploded on the ground, blooming beautiful fireworks. Boom! After the skill light exploded, it would definitely destroy a group of natives in the enemy camp. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere, dyeing everyone's body bright red. The blood converged into a small river, flowing slowly, and finally, it went deep into the ground and disappeared. Deep underground, there was a huge karst cave here. The blood converged into a small river and flowed into this karst cave. In the center of the karst cave, a man in a blood-red robe was sitting cross-legged. That head of red hair was particularly bright and dazzling. The blood-red robe man looked at this pool of blood, and his eyes bloomed with a strange light. Such pure life energy. However, these are just appetizers. This time, it won't be a problem to break through to the 7th level of the Holy Spirit Realm. Godly cunning immortal, I hope you don't get played to death. Otherwise, it will be boring. The corners of the blood-red robe man's mouth rose, revealing a smug smile. Then, he closed his eyes and sucked hard. Through the surrounding blood-red color formed wisps of light, rushing from all directions and flowing into the mouth of the blood-red robe man. The aura of the blood-red robe man was slowly rising. On the ground, the battle continued. Tens of millions of troops, intertwined, were divided into countless small battlefields. In one of the small battlefields, Sun Wukong gritted his teeth and struggled hard. However, The mysterious force binding him was too terrifying, and for a while, it was difficult to break free at all. The mysterious force controlled him to move forward, and he retreated. This created a situation where Sun Wukong moved forward and retreated. In the end, he could only spin in place. Damn it, old Sun, will be controlled by you? When I, old Sun, find my own demon power, why do I need to do this? Sun Wukong's face was full of unwillingness. Swish! Suddenly, a sound of breaking through the air sounded. The skill light shone heaven and earth, and it flew towards Sun Wukong. In an instant, it exploded beside Sun Wukong. Boom! The ground trembled, and the loud noise continued. Several men beside Sun Wukong directly exploded into blood mist. The shock wave enveloped Sun Wukong, stopping him in place. Boom! His body kept bouncing up and down on the ground, exploding a piece of dust, and it took a long time to stabilize his figure. Although he was not injured, this blow also made him disheveled. I didn't expect that old Sun, would have this day. It's really a tiger that falls to the plains is bullied by dogs. Sun Wukong shook his head secretly, his face full of bitterness. Suddenly, Sun Wukong raised his eyebrows, and a sense of uneasiness was written all over his face. Using all his strength, he slowly turned around, and when he saw the scene in front of him, his pupils contracted and his eyes widened. You? Sun Wukong's voice trembled, and his words were full of fear. He saw. In front of him stood a figure, looking at him with a smile that was not a smile. It was this figure that made Sun Wukong afraid. Chapter 610. Little monkey, call me Grandpa Sun, and I can save you in the exam. The one standing in front of Goku was none other than the six-eared macaque. Seeing the six-eared macaque, Goku was angry and afraid. It was not the right time to meet this opponent. You call me Grandpa Sun. I don't want you to save me. Goku roared. Hiss! The six-eared macaque grinned, and the sharp teeth burst out of breathtaking cold light. He took out an iron rod unhurriedly and stared coldly at Goku. Little monkey, do you know what this is? This is the Rui Jingu Bang, which is far from what your Rui Jingu Bang can compare to. This is made by the young master. Its quality has already reached the level of a top-grade artifact. If this hits your head, even if you have an immortal body, your head will crack and you will die on the spot, right? The six-eared macaque held the iron rod and waved it in front of Goku. The threat was very obvious. However, Goku was not a coward. Not only did he not admit defeat, but his attitude was extremely arrogant. 6 ears, don't show off in front of me. Can a broken iron rod break my immortal body? Come on, hit me on the head. Goku struggled to point at his head and shouted. Hiss! The six-eared macaque roared angrily. Kid, you're asking for a beating. He raised the iron rod and aimed it at Goku's head and smashed it down. The terrifying power made people's scalp numb. Sensing the irresistible power, Goku's face changed greatly. But what was done, there was no room to turn back. He could only close his eyes and wait quietly for the moment when the iron rod hit. Kacha! A loud noise shook Goku's head. His body flew out uncontrollably and fell heavily to the ground. He struggled for a long time before he stood up. He touched his head and did not touch the brain. Are you okay? Goku looked puzzled. After a while, his pupils shrank, and the color of surprise was written all over his face. At this moment, he was surprised to find that he had regained his freedom. This kid didn't kill him? Turning around, he saw the six-eared macaque holding his stomach and laughing at him. Ah, little monkey, are you scared to death by this old Sun? Your fearful expression really made me laugh to death. Ha! The mockery didn't have the slightest intention of stopping. Goku was not enraged. Instead, he calmly walked towards six-eared macaque. Thank you. The voice was not loud, but it sounded like a pleasant surprise to the six-eared macaque. His eyes widened in disbelief. It was as if they had seen a monster. Sun Wukong, who never admits defeat, actually said thank you today? Did the sun rise from the west? Or did the world collapse? After a long time, six-eared macaque finally calmed down. Seeing Goku striding away, He took a step forward and hurriedly blocked his way. Little monkey, wait. I have something to say. You mustn't kill indiscriminately. We have to save as many people as possible and break the mysterious power that is binding them. I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Goku ignored Six-Ear Macaque's words and continued on his way. Enough of your nonsense. I only know how to kill monsters. I don't know how to save people. Goku said, "This is the decree of Master Ming Wu, and it is also the will of the young master." As soon as these words came out, Goku stopped and looked at Six-Ear Macaque in disbelief. My master. Yes. Six-Ear Macaque nodded. Even so, I can't break that mysterious power. My current monster power is too weak. Goku said. Six-Ear Macaque smiled slightly, took out a tin-colored gem, and handed it to Goku. This is the sacred origin orb that Master Ming Wu collected in the young master's soul space. It should be useful for you. Goku took the sacred origin orb, and his eyes were shining. Without any hesitation, Goku swallowed it. Kacha! The sound of the realm barrier breaking kept ringing. Soon, Goku's strength reached the 8th stage of the Saint Realm. He stood in place, showing a face of excitement. Save people, right? I, old son, am coming. Goku stepped out and instantly appeared in midair. With a blink of his eyes, 2 rays of divine light shot out, directly scanning the world. The slightest trace of a mysterious force was seen by him. The Rui Jingu Bang was held in Goku's hand, and a ray of red light lit up on it. Go! Goku pointed with his right hand. The Rui Jingu Bang grew rapidly, lying between heaven and earth, and quickly rolled forward. Boom! Wherever it went, the mysterious power that shrouded everyone's body would be broken. At this moment, the control contestants regained their freedom. When they looked up and saw Goku, they showed a grateful look. Thank you for saving my life. They bowed and saluted Goku. No need to be so polite. Remember, this is a conspiracy of the Son of Heaven. You are cannon fodder. After being killed, you will become an energy for the Son of Heaven to enhance his strength. Now, what you need to do is to stop this war as much as possible and let the fewer people die, the better. Do you understand? Goku stood in the sky, looking at the crowd, and said, Yes, my lord. After Goku's guidance, everyone instantly understood. They bowed to show their respect. This lord is really kind-hearted. This kind of heart really makes me feel ashamed. Let's go and save the people. Let's go and save the natives. One by one, they stepped forward and rushed to the other battlefields. After the crowd left, Six-Eared Macaque flew over and landed in front of Goku. Monkey, not bad. Six-Eared Macaque praised. Of course. Do you think that I, old son, only know how to fight and kill? Goku crossed his arms and raised his head proudly. I gave you some color, and you want to start a dye shop? Six-Eared Macaque said. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. I, old son, am going to continue to save people. After saying that, Goku took a step, turned into a long rainbow, and disappeared into the sky. Six-Eared Macaque looked at this scene, the corner of his mouth slightly raised, and he nodded from time to time. I'm going to save people too. His idea is not bad. Otherwise, how can we save so many people with just a few of us? Six-Eared Macaque said, looked in a direction, and flew there quickly. Soon, he came to a small battlefield. Without any hesitation, he took out the iron rod. With a thought, the iron rod turned into a huge pillar that could hold up the sky, and it stood between heaven and earth. Go! Six-Eared Macaque pointed with his right hand. The iron rod quickly rolled. Wherever it went, the mysterious power that enveloped everyone's body was completely shattered. Chapter 6:11. Ingyu was like a puppet, controlled by a mysterious force, walking forward slowly. Like a puppet, Ingyu was controlled by a mysterious force and slowly walked forward. She only needed to raise her claws to tear a native. Although she was very reluctant, her body did not listen to her commands at all. Above her head, the number displayed was 10,000. The number displayed above her head was 10,000. At this time, a cry of surprise sounded. This sound attracted the attention of many people on the blue side. Among them, there was Yao Zishuan. She hid in the crowd and looked at Ingyu quietly, the light on her face changing. Princess, if you can kill this 10,000 points, it will not be a problem to surpass the king. Princess, if you can kill this person with 10,000 points, I believe it won't be a problem for you to surpass the king. Princess, if you can kill this 10,000 points, it will not be a problem to surpass the king. Beside Yao Zishuan, a woman said. Yao Zishuan listened to this and nodded slightly, but did not act. Don't worry, let's watch for a while. Yes, princess. The woman also followed Yao Zishuan's gaze. Soon, she also found some clues, and her eyes couldn't help but bloom with a strange light. Young master, she is really controlled. This is a great opportunity to kill her. If the king sees it, you won't have a chance. Don't wait, let's do it together, the woman said. These words like a death warrant. Yao Zishuan could no longer calm down. She nodded slightly. Give the order, let's do it. As soon as these words came out, swish, around her, men and women with surging auras flashed across the battlefield. Soon, they arrived in front of Ingyu and wrapped her up. Looking at these people in front of him, Ingyu frowned, revealing a dignified expression. These people, each of them, although only reached the second stage of the Saint Realm. However, he was now being controlled, and it was impossible to exert his full strength. It was already good to be able to exert 1 point. Not good. And you thought it was not good. His body did not retreat, but rushed forward as fast as lightning toward a man. However, this man seemed to be able to discover what Ingyu was thinking, and his body quickly retreated, narrowly avoiding Ingyu's fatal move. Ding! A sound of metal clashing rang out. Ingyu retreated and was hit by several people, bursting out a burst of metal clashing sounds. Several shallow bloodstains covered Ingyu's back. Ah! Ingyu gritted his teeth, following the direction of the mysterious force, and quickly attacked his back. Bang! His fist was like a mountain as it landed on a man's body. Bang! The man flew backward and landed heavily on the ground, coughing up blood. However, Ingyu's back was once again left with many bloodstains. Ding, boom, bang. In this way, Ingyu used the method of exchanging injury for injury and fought with them. Not long after, Ingyu finally killed a man. Her body was also riddled with scars. The blood had already dyed his clothes red. She panted heavily and looked at the crowd coldly. Suddenly, Ingyu raised his eyebrows, and a sense of fatal crisis shrouded his heart. She dodged with all her might. However, it was still too late. Pusin, the sound of metal piercing flesh rang out. A sharp claw with a cold light directly buckled into Ingyu's thigh, and a piece of flesh was torn off. Immediately, blood flowed like a fountain. It was a horrible sight to behold. Ingyu fell to the ground and looked at the woman with sharp claws in front of him. He couldn't help but exclaim, "It's you." That's right, it's me. The person that had arrived was none other than Yao Zishuan. She looked at Ingyu with a smile, revealing an expression of being in control of everything. Yin Wan Emperor, you didn't expect that you would have such a day. If you didn't attack the Son of Heaven, you wouldn't have been controlled, right? You wouldn't have been killed by a villain like me. Yao Zishuan said with a smile. You think you can kill me? Ingyu said angrily. Whether I can kill or not, it's not just by talking. It's by strength. Speaking of this, Yao Zishuan's aura changed, revealing a cold expression. Go a loud shout. More than a dozen people rushed towards Ingyu together. No matter how strong Ingyu was, he was restrained at the moment, and it was difficult to take care of both sides. In less than a moment, Ingyu's body was riddled with scars, and each wound was deep enough to see the bone. It was simply indescribable. Even if she was an ancient demon beast, after losing almost all of her blood, she was powerless. Ingyu fell to the ground with a pale face. She looked at Yao Zishuan, revealing a look of unwillingness. 2 lines of tears slowly fell from the corners of her eyes. Master, I'm sorry, I'm useless. In the future, I'll rely on you. Ingyu muttered to herself, her face full of despair. Seeing the change in Ingyu's face, Yao Zishuan revealed a happy smile. I didn't expect that the dignified monarch would actually cry. This seat is soft-hearted and specially gave you a chance. Say, what other last words do you have? Yao Zishuan said. He, and you smiled coldly and did not say anything. Looks like you're done. Since that's the case, then go to hell. Yao Zishuan waved her right hand, instantly turning into a sharp claw shining with a cold light. Without any hesitation, she aimed at Ing Yu's head and grabbed down. Gotcha! Wherever the sharp claw went, the space shattered inch by inch. The terrifying power was about to hit Ing Yu's head. At this time, a laugh sounded. At this moment, the palm that was falling towards Ing Yu's head was frozen in place. Ah! Yao Zishuan's strength was exhausted. The veins on her forehead bulged, and beads of sweat rolled down. Who is it? Yao Zishuan's gaze swept around and shouted loudly. However, no one responded to her. Gotcha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang out. The power that bound Ing Yu's body cracked in response. At this moment, Ing Yu recovered. Phew! A stream of 10-colored Saint Qi circled around Ing Yu. The injuries on Ing Yu's body recovered at a visible speed. Senior Ing Yu, I will leave them to you. Don't rush to kill them. The young master has ordered to save everyone first. Two voices went straight into Ing Yu's ears. Hearing this, Ing Yu nodded slightly, indicating that he heard it. Saint Qi? Seeing the Saint Qi on Ing Yu's body, Yao Zishuan's pupils shrank, and greed was written all over her face. Wasn't it for the Saint Qi that she was willing to die, desperate, and at this moment, she actually had so much Saint Qi on her body? It was really wearing out iron shoes in vain. It was really God helping me. Yao Zishuan looked at the Saint Qi on Ing Yu's body, and her face showed uncontrollable surprise. Her whole body was trembling slightly with excitement. That appearance was as if she had obtained the ultimate treasure, which was simply indescribable. Swish, without any hesitation, Yao Zishuan went straight to Ing Yu. P.S. Asking for monthly votes. Chapter 612. Closer, even closer. She was about to touch the Saint Essence Qi. If she could grasp the Saint Essence Qi in front of her after devouring it, it would not be a problem for her to break through a few realms. The corner of Yao Zishuan's mouth rose, revealing a smug look. Without any accident, Yao Zishuan pounced on the Saint Essence Qi. It was also at this time. Oh, a terrifying force enveloped Yao Zishuan's body. Suddenly, it blasted her out. Boom! Yao Zishuan fell heavily to the ground, vomiting blood. She struggled for a long time, but could not stand up. She looked at the Saint Essence Qi and kept shaking her head. This is impossible. How can this Saint Essence Qi have consciousness? Yao Zishuan's face was full of bitterness. She could only watch the Saint Essence Qi get thinner and thinner, and she was powerless to do anything. Suddenly, Yao Zishuan raised her eyebrows, and uneasiness was written all over her face. After being helped up by others, she hurriedly said, Quick, take me away from here. However, just as she finished speaking, buzz, the sky shook. A terrifying force enveloped them. Weren't you happy bullying this seat just now? Want to escape now? How can it be so easy? The two sounds were not loud, but like a demonic voice from hell. Yao Zishuan and the others' faces changed drastically. What do you want to do? Yao Zishuan looked at Ing Yu, who was walking towards her step by step, and her voice trembled. What do I want to do? Pa! A transparent slap directly slapped Yao Zishuan's face, directly stunning her. Before she could react, Pa! One slap after another landed on Yao Zishuan's face. Soon, Yao Zishuan's entire face was swollen, extremely ugly. She was slapped until she had no temper at all. She hung her head and remained motionless. As for her subordinates, they had long been paralyzed on the ground, shivering. I'll spare your lives. Ing Yu coldly snorted, waved his right hand, and instantly imprisoned everyone, moving with his body. Save people? Ing Yu muttered to himself, his face becoming more and more firm. Since it's young master's idea, it must be right. After saying that, Ing Yu took a step and followed Yao Zishuan and the others, instantly disappearing in place. Such scenes were happening all around the alien battlefield. Those who came from the demon ancestral realm to participate in the battle were all rescued. As for the natives, they were confined in place, unable to continue participating in the battle. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Tens of millions of natives were imprisoned in a huge square. Howl, roar, they were like wild beasts, struggling madly and letting out earth-shattering roars from time to time. He aimed at the enemy camp around him, filled with hostility and killing intent. However, they could not break free. Above the square, hundreds of thousands of people stood in the sky. Most of these people were from the demon ancestral realm who came to participate in the battle. Each of their faces was filled with the joy of surviving a disaster, staring at Ning Mingji and the others excitedly. It turns out that the variant war was a conspiracy. How unexpected! I thought we were dead for sure. All of this is thanks to Master Enlightened. I heard that Master Ming Wu was also instructed by a young master to come and save us. What? There's actually someone behind an existence like Grandmaster Ming Wu? That's right, this young master's methods are extraordinary. In this world, there is such a person. I really want to meet him. The sound of discussion continued. For these voices, Ning Mingji and the others did not care. At this moment, they sat around and began to discuss. Master Ming Wu, the minds of these natives are controlled, and we have exhausted our methods, but we can't save them. Yes, Master Ming Wu, it's not a way to keep imprisoning them like this. What the hell should we do? Ning Mingji was like the backbone of everyone, and everyone's eyes were fixed on him. Ning Mingji frowned and thought. After a while, they all raised their eyebrows and seemed to have thought of some countermeasures. Yes, the young master's Heart Sutra can save them. Ning Mingji said, Heart Sutra, Master Ming Wu, what should we do? We will listen to you. Ning Mingji smiled slightly and said, Everyone, listen to me. Chant the Heart Sutra together with me. This sound, like a thunderclap, blasted in everyone's mind. Everyone came back to their senses and sat down cross-legged with Ning Mingji. Saraira, under the leadership of Ning Mingji, everyone chanted the words. Scriptures flew out of their mouths and whizzed towards Ning Mingji. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the whole world, and it disappeared. Oh, these scriptures piled up rapidly. In less than a moment, it formed an indescribable giant, who, on the giant's body, hundreds of millions of strands of golden light whistled down from him, enveloping every god in the square. How? Their voices, which were originally roaring loudly, gradually disappeared. Their whole state became incomparably peaceful. Soon, they recovered their senses and looked around blankly. Why are we here? What's going on? I seem to have killed a lot of people. Is it a dream? It's not a dream. It's real. It seems that someone saved us. Looking up, everyone saw the incomparably tall, giant Buddha, and suddenly their hearts trembled, showing a pious look. It turned out that the Buddha saved us. One by one, they knelt down. Facing the giant Buddha, they kowtowed and saluted. The giant Buddha opened his eyes and glanced at the crowd. You lost your mind. It was the young master who ordered this seat to save you. Not long ago, the giant Buddha said one sentence at a time. Every sentence, like the mantra of the great Tao, went straight into everyone's mind. They listened to this and couldn't help but secretly nodded. Young master, what kind of existence is it? It can actually send the Buddha to save us. I'm afraid it's an unimaginable existence. It's really admirable. This kind of existence actually has such kindness. Its mind is really unimaginable. The sound of worship, wave after wave. For a while, it couldn't stop at all. Ning Mingji looked at this scene, smiled, and nodded. Who, with a wave of his right hand, the giant Buddha's body exploded, turning into strands of pure energy, like the Milky Way pouring down, enveloping everyone. These gods' physical body, realm, state of mind, they were improving rapidly. Kacha, the sound of the realm membrane bursting, kept ringing. It took a long time to calm down. Half a day later, everyone opened their eyes, revealing a face of joy. I broke through. I actually became a god emperor. Incredible, unimaginable. The Buddha has such ability. What about the young master? What kind of existence is he? Yeah, I'm afraid it's unimaginable. I really look forward to the moment when I see the young master. Chapter 613. Above the void. A transparent figure slowly condensed. This figure looked rough, with a long red beard covering his entire face. He looked at everything below and shook his head slightly. Hey, what should I do? Destroying the good things of the Son of Heaven. They will definitely end up with their souls scattered. What does this matter have to do with me? It's better to stay out of this kind of business. Stay out of it. You have lived for countless years. Is it interesting to live like this? Could it be that I died and sacrificed myself for them? Then what's the point of doing this? Two voices kept fighting in the mind of the red-bearded man, and for a while, they couldn't win at all. Who? The red-bearded man's body gradually disappeared as if he had never appeared. Below, the fierce discussion continued. Waves of worship swept toward Ning Mingji and the others. Under Ning Mingji's constant waving of his hand, the surroundings gradually calmed down. If there is a chance, everyone will see the young master. The plan now is for everyone to survive or become part of the Son of Heaven's strength. Everyone, don't just stand there. Leave here with me. After speaking, Ning Mingji stretched out his palm and blasted forward. Buzz, a huge teleportation vortex appeared in the sky. Ning Mingji took a step forward and was about to step into the teleportation vortex. A cold laugh sounded. Gotcha! A huge crack cracked on the teleportation vortex. Immediately afterward, boom! With an explosion, the teleportation vortex burst open and disappeared. Such a scene directly startled Ning Mingji. He narrowed his eyes and looked up at the sky. His pupils shrank, and his face changed slightly, only to see, in the sky, wisps of white light quickly condensed and formed. In the blink of an eye, it formed a white giant with a height of 10,000 meters. The aura of the ninth stage of the Saint Realm rushed up from the white giant, whistling in all directions. Gotcha! The terrifying pressure seemed to be able to break the spine, bursting out with the sound of joints cracking. The natives all knelt on the ground, looking up at the white giant, and their faces changed dramatically. That's the Son of Heaven. What? The Son of Heaven has arrived? It's over, it's over. What should we do? The sound of despair resounded throughout the world. Many of them knelt on the ground and put their palms together, begging for mercy. Son of the heavenly Tao, please spare this lowly one's life. We are following your orders. Son of the heavenly Tao, I was wrong. Please forgive me and forgive me. Begging for mercy sounded continuously. The white giant watched this with a cold smile on his face. Isn't it too late to beg for mercy now? That's right, he's right. The white giant pointed to Ning Mingji and said, It's like you should feel honored to be able to turn into this king's power. I didn't want to make a move against you, but there's no other way. Today, all of you shall receive the baptism of my supreme holy light. After saying that, the white giant roared into the sky. How? A beam of white light shot out from the white giant's mouth. The surroundings seemed to have darkened. In the sky, there was only this white pillar of light. In other words, the white pillar of light was so bright that it suppressed all the light in the surroundings. Buzz, the white light exploded in the sky, turning into strands of white light. Like rain, it directly whistled down. Looking at it, tens of millions of natives were about to be bombarded into flesh and blood. At this time, Buzz, there was a shock. Above the natives, a layer of white barrier suddenly floated up, preventing the white light from falling. All the light was quickly annihilated. Seeing such a scene, there was a trace of disbelief in the eyes of the white giant. How was this possible? A little ant can stop me. The words just fell. Swish! A sound of breaking through the air sounded. The white giant's scalp exploded and cold sweat flowed. Turning around and looking back, his face changed drastically, and a fatal crisis enveloped his heart. He saw that Sun Wukong was waving the Rui Jingu Bang and smashing it down at the white giant. The Rui Jingu Bang was like a large pillar holding up the sky, bigger than the white giant's head. The terrifying power made the white giant's scalp numb. "Eat my old son's stick." With a loud roar, the golden cudgel arrived quickly. Not good. The white giant's face changed drastically, and he quickly used his body technique. However, it was too late. Boom! The world trembled, and the sun and moon lost their light. Boundless waves of air whistled in all directions. The terrifying power made people's scalp numb, and cold sweat flowed. Boom! The white giant's head exploded, bursting into countless white lights, splashing in all directions. These white lights quickly merged, and soon they condensed into the appearance of the white giant. However, this figure's aura and size were much weaker than the previous one. Damn it! On the white giant's face, there was a touch of fear, and he looked at Sun Wukong with a look of fear. In his eyes, Sun Wukong was the existence that made him afraid. However, swish, another sound of breaking through the air sounded. Looking back, his pupils shrank again, and his face changed dramatically. Only to see, the six-eared macaque appeared behind the white giant, waving the iron stick, aiming at his head, and smashing it over. The terrifying power was not weaker than that of Sun Wukong's swing. Boom! Without any accident, the iron stick directly hit the white giant's head, bursting out with a shocking roar. Immediately afterward, the white giant's body exploded into countless threads of light and fled quickly. Infinite True Fire. Ingyu suddenly appeared, transformed into its original body, and aimed at the white giant, and opened its bloody mouth. Who? Countless crimson flames spewed out. No, a roar of unwillingness resounded through the world. Soon, the crimson flames enveloped all the white light threads. Around, there was only the sound of burning. All the white light threads were burned clean, and nothing was left. At this point, the white giant was completely dead. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. They stared blankly at this scene, and for a while, they did not come back to their senses. Their eyes swept from Sun Wukong to six-eared macaque, and then back to Ingyu. The light of worship flashed on the faces of these natives. Six-eared, well done. Sun Wukong looked at six-eared macaque and nodded in praise. You did a good job, too. Six-eared macaque looked at Sun Wukong with a bright face. And this old man? Ingyu said. Sun Wukong and six-eared macaque looked at each other and smiled. Senior Ingyu, your strength is obvious to all, and we admire you very much. Yes, Senior Ingyu, you are really powerful. Hearing this, Ingyu showed a smile and nodded with satisfaction. You really know how to talk. Not bad. The three quickly flew back to the team. Buzz, the world trembled, and a sudden change occurred. Chapter 614. Oh my God, the Son of Heaven was killed just like that. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, who would dare to believe it? It's terrible. They killed him so easily. Then their strength. Didn't they also reach the 9th stage of the Saint Realm? If this is the case, doesn't that young master have reached the Holy Spirit realm? I regret it. I just begged the Son of Heaven for mercy. I really don't want to live in this world. God, please give me a crack in the ground. Let me get into it. The natives looked at the sky, and the light of worship flickered. Hearing these words, Ingyu and the other two raised the corners of their mouths and walked unhurriedly to Ning Mingji's team. When the three were about to speak, Buzz, the world trembled, and a sudden change occurred. Ripples appeared in the sky all around. In each ripple, there were countless white threads of light dancing. These threads of light, quickly entangled and stacked, soon turned into a white giant with a terrible aura. At a glance, it was densely packed, and it was unknown how many there were. These white giants were all the clones of the Son of Heaven. Such a scene, in the eyes of everyone, all of their faces changed dramatically, and their faces were full of fear. There are so many children of heaven. Legend has it that the Son of Heaven has countless clones, and now it seems that it is not wrong at all. Oh my God, this is really over. A group of natives looked at this scene, and their faces changed dramatically, and their faces were full of despair. You ants dare to fight against the heavens. Today I will let you see that the heavens cannot be disobeyed. It is a supreme honor for you to become a part of this seat's strength. Give me your life. Tens of thousands of white giants spitting out the human language at the same time. The sound was like the thunder of the ninth heaven, making everyone's heart tremble. When Ning Mingji saw this scene, his face changed slightly. He roared, "Get into formation!" This sound, the people standing around him moved in unison. No one dared to relax at the slightest, and at the same time, they made gestures with their hands and muttered. Wisps of multicolored light flew out of their bodies and quickly gathered together. In less than a moment, a colorful shield was formed, covering everyone above. Overestimating yourself, tens of thousands of white giants snorted coldly, and at the same time, they made gestures with their hands and began to mobilize the power in their bodies. Hundreds of millions of white threads of light rushed up from their bodies. It took shape in the sky. Soon, a white pillar of light that was tens of thousands of meters tall was formed. A destructive power erupted from the light pillar, causing people's hearts to tremble and cold sweat to pour down their backs. Boom! As expected, an earth-shattering explosion erupted as the white pillar of light crashed into the multicolored barrier. Cracks appeared on the 10-colored barrier, spreading out in a spiderweb pattern. Seeing this in Ning Mingji's eyes, his face could not help but change drastically. Not good. We can't hold on. Everyone fight on their own. Save as many people as you can. Ning Mingji roared. Yes. Everyone nodded in unison as they waited for the white pillar to strike down again. Boom! There was another loud noise. The multicolored barrier instantly exploded. Swish! Ning Mingji led everyone and moved at the same time. Phew! They waved their right hands, and rays of light rushed out and enveloped everyone. These light shields moved as fast as lightning, rapidly enveloping the people below. Each of them brought tens of thousands of people and soared into the sky. Like a celestial maiden scattering flowers, they scattered in all directions. Trying to escape? The white giants spoke at the same time, and all of their faces revealed a cold smile. Their thoughts moved. Buzz, the sky trembled, and the white pillar directly exploded, turning into a layer of light curtain, enveloping everyone in it. Boom! Anyone who bumped into the light screen would feel dizzy from the impact and hurriedly stabilize their bodies. Hence, accept the punishment of heaven. Becoming the power of this seat is your supreme glory. Die for me. The sound was like thunder, echoing in the white light curtain. With this sound, a white palm condensed and formed. Z. Above the white palm, a bolt of lightning jumped on it, bursting out a frightening power. Swish! The white palms moved in unison, flying around in the light curtain without any rules. Ning Mingji and the others quickly dodged. However, there were always people who couldn't hide. Xian Yuan hid in a dead corner. No matter which direction he fled in, he would encounter a white palm. His face was struggling at the moment when he was stunned. Boom! 6 slaps came from 6 different directions and landed on his body at once. No! The tens of thousands of people brought by Xian Yuan all let out an unwilling roar. However, there was no accident. Boom! Their bodies directly exploded into a bloody mist. Like a rain of blood, it converged into a river of blood and hid in the ground. Boom! Xian Yuanyi's body flew backward and hit the light curtain heavily, vomiting blood. He stood in place with a pale face, showing a look of shame. The white palm seemed to be conscious. It did not continue to attack him, but attacked the other people with the aborigines. Boom! There was another explosion. Mu Bing was bombarded to vomit blood. The tens of thousands of aborigines she brought also died tragically, turning into a bloody mist and falling to the ground. Boom! The sound of explosions rang out from time to time. Every time it sounded, tens of thousands of people were bombarded into a bloody mist. Seeing this scene, the white giant revealed a playful expression. Ants run. Do your best to run. In front of this great formation, no matter how powerful your means are, it's useless. The more you scream, the more excited this seat is. Tens of thousands of white giants spat out the human language, complacency written all over their faces. Every time he smashed tens of thousands of people, the white giant would shout excitedly. His insolent appearance could not be described in words. Young master, I'm sorry, Mingwu has failed you. Every time tens of thousands of people died, Ningmingji was heartbroken, and at the same time, he blamed himself. However, no matter what he did, he could not break the white shield. They were like caged birds, and sooner or later they would be caught. Above the void, a phantom slowly condensed and formed. This phantom had a fiery red beard on his face. He was the red-bearded man from before. He looked at everything below, and his face changed indefinitely. No, this old man can't make a move. Otherwise, the Son of Heaven will definitely find me. If you don't make a move now, when will you? Those are your people, being harvested like this once in 10,000 years. How can you bear it? Are you worthy of being the ancestor? Living is more important than anything. If you make a move like this, you will definitely die. Bah, coward, I didn't expect that there would be a coward like you. It's really shameful. Two kinds of voices kept intertwining in his mind. For a while, there was no winner at all. And below, the game of cat and mouse was continuing. Chapter 6:15. Hey, if I die, I die. It's worth it even if my soul is destroyed. The red-bearded man muttered to himself, showing a determined look. Buzz. He moved his mind and turned into a red giant with a height of 10,000 meters. His whole body was burning with crimson flames. The aura of destruction kept surging on his body. The appearance of the red giant stunned everyone in place and stopped moving. Even tens of thousands of white giants were looking at the red giant with a solemn face at the moment. Who are you? Do you want to destroy my good deeds? The white giant pointed at the red-bearded man and shouted angrily. However, the red-bearded man was unmoved, the corner of his mouth raised, and the cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. Buzz! As soon as his eyes opened, a crimson flame spewed out. Aiming at one of the white giants, it blasted over. The flame rushed up on the white giant and burned quickly. Ah! A shrill scream resounded through the world. Under this flame, the white giant was burned to ashes in less than a moment. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of one of the white giants. Disbelief was written all over everyone's face. They looked at the red-bearded man with a look of fear. Holy Spirit. It turned out to be a Holy Spirit. These words fell into the ears of the white giants like thunder. They looked at the red-bearded man, revealing a look of fear. Who are you? Why do you want to attack us? Aren't you afraid? Before the words fell, swish, a red flame, as fast as lightning, directly hit the white giant who spoke. Immediately, the white giant's whole body burned with raging flames. Ah, the shrill scream, like the howl of hell, made people's hair stand on end. In less than a moment, the white giant turned into ashes again. Swish! Without waiting for the white giant to react, the red-bearded man's eyes kept sweeping over them. Anyone who was swept by the red-bearded man's eyes would be burned into ashes. Ah, like wheat, the white giant fell to the ground. In less than a moment, more than half of them died. At this time, boom, the white light curtain, no longer able to hold on, directly burst open. Eat my stick! Goku strode forward and instantly appeared in front of a white giant. He lifted the Jingu Bang and smashed it down. The white giant was still in a state of shock, unable to react at all. Even though it was blasted into nothingness, it did not recover. Eat my hammer! The Thunder Tribulation giant waved the sky-covering thunder hammer, aimed at a white giant, and blasted it down. Boom! Thunder and lightning exploded, directly blasting the white giant into smithereens, disappearing on the spot. Under the leadership of Ningmingji, everyone began to counterattack. The white giant ran like a stray dog. However, the red-bearded man would definitely take special care of those who escaped. Bang! With a single sweep of his gaze, they would be burned to ashes and die a miserable death on the spot. The entire scene was a complete massacre. Bang! The white giants continued to fall. An hour later, all the white giants exploded into dust and disappeared without a trace. The whole place was dead silent. The people of the demon ancestral realm and the natives who participated in the battle stood rooted to the ground like fools, dumbfounded. It was a long time. Only then did they regain some of their composure. Dead, they're all dead. So many clones of a son of the heavenly Tao died, just like that. Dream on. Is this a dream? Ouch, it hurts. Who is that? Why can he spit out such a terrifying flame? He is probably the legendary demon Ancestor Lihua. As soon as these words came out, there was another dead silence. Everyone stared at the red-bearded man, and waves of admiration swept across. This red-bearded man was none other than the demon Ancestor Lihua. Ning Mingji looked at the demon Ancestor Lihua with a look of awe. He looked back at everyone, waved his hand, and everyone followed. Thank you for saving my life, Senior Lihua. Under the leadership of Ning Mingji, everyone cupped their fists and bowed respectfully. This sound awakened the demon Ancestor Lihua. He looked at the crowd and nodded slightly. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, looked at the crowd, and shouted, "Quick, run! The son of the heavenly Tao is coming. If you don't run now, it will be too late." The demon Ancestor Lihua's voice was like thunder, causing everyone's face to change drastically. Everyone nodded in unison and began to move. However, a cold laughter rang out. In the sky, a man with a blood-red body suddenly appeared. He was wearing a blood-red robe and had fiery red hair on his head. He looked as red as a flaming bird. This person was none other than the son of the heavenly Tao that the demon Ancestor Lihua mentioned. At the same time, he also had another identity, and that was Lai Shang. The corners of his mouth curled up in a 50-degree angle. His gaze was fixed on the demon Ancestor Lihua, revealing an expression of controlling everything. "Lihua, I've been looking for you for decades. I didn't expect you to jump out on your own. It's really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, but finding it without any effort. Since you've given me your strength, I can consider giving you a quick death. Tell me, what kind of death do you want?" Lai Shang said each sentence, and his expression was like a king who controlled everything. Su Yiling and the others looked at Lai Shang, and their expressions changed slightly. "It's him." "What him?" Of course, there were also people in the crowd who didn't know Lai Shang. Su Yiling told the situation of dealing with Lai Shang before. After that, Su Yiling showed an apologetic look. "It's all our fault. If we didn't let him run away, there wouldn't be all this today." When Ning Mingji heard this, he shook his head slightly. "That's not necessarily true. Even if it's not this Lai Shang, I'm afraid it will be another Lai Shang." "What should we do now?" Su Yiling asked. "There's no other way." Ning Mingji shook his head slightly. "The son of the heavenly Tao is at least a sacred spirit. Judging from his appearance, I don't think he's an ordinary saint spirit. It's very likely that he's already reached stage 2 or stage 3 saint spirit realm." Ning Mingji said. "What?" When everyone heard this, their expressions changed drastically. After reaching the saint spirit realm, one's strength would increase by several folds with every increase in level. There was simply no way to challenge someone of a higher level. On the other hand, the aura of the Li Fire demonic ancestor seemed to be only in the first layer of the Holy Spirit realm, far from being Lai Shang's match. He was afraid that even if the young master came, he would not be Lai Shang's opponent. Thinking of this, everyone's expression changed slightly, and despair shrouded everyone's hearts. "Young master, please don't come. Young master, you must hide well. As long as you live, we will have hope of resurrection." Everyone muttered to themselves and prayed secretly. Suddenly, a burst of laughter woke everyone up. A sharp gaze swept directly on them. "Don't worry. Wait for this seat to swallow Lihua first, then I'll swallow you all. You are all the source of energy for this seat." Chapter 6:16. Boom! The earth shook and the sky shook. Demon Ancestor Li Hua and Lai Shang were fighting in the sky, and layers of shock waves kept roaring in all directions. The terrifying power made one's scalp tingle. Everyone looked up at the sky and wiped their cold sweat from time to time. It's too terrifying. If I stood in front of this aftermath, I would definitely be blasted into pieces. Is this a battle between holy spirits? It's too terrifying. Exclamations kept ringing out. Everyone looked up at the battle in the sky, motionless. It wasn't that they didn't want to move, but that they didn't dare to move. They could all sense a pair of eyes sweeping over them. As long as they moved, they would be locked on and then blasted into pieces, becoming a part of Lai Shang's power. Li Hua, didn't you eat? Weak, too weak. Are you still a holy spirit? I think you're just a weak chicken. Lai Shang had one hand behind his back and gently waved one hand, making Demon Ancestor Li Hua unable to resist. When such words reached Demon Ancestor Li Hua's ears, anger spiraled in his chest. His face turned red and his eyes stared at Lai Shang. I really don't understand. You're a golden crow with the law of devouring. Why do you want to be a lackey? Today, even if I die, I won't let you have an easy time. After saying that, Demon Ancestor Li Hua roared. How? As this roar sounded, Demon Ancestor Li Hua's aura rapidly increased. Soon, he had the aura of a second-level Holy Spirit realm. Whoosh! The flames turned into sharp arrows and flew toward Lai Shang. Whoosh! The sound of breaking air kept ringing. The rain of flames, in the blink of an eye, completely enveloped Lai Shang. Seeing this scene, Lai Shang's eyes lit up. Whoosh! Lai Shang opened his bloody mouth, aimed at the rain of flames, and began to devour. Devour for me. A phantom of the devouring beast slowly condensed behind Lai Shang. The rain of flames aimed at Lai Shang's mouth and flew quickly. You don't want to live? Demon Ancestor Li Hua's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. His flame was Leaf Fire, which had an incomparably terrifying destructive power. If an ordinary Holy Spirit touched it, there would only be one result, and that was ashes. If he swallowed his Leaf Fire into his stomach, he would basically die without a doubt. No matter how strong the son of the heavenly Tao was, he would definitely die at this moment. However, in the next second, the Li Hua demon ancestor's face was filled with shock and disbelief. He saw that the Leaf Fire that he had released was completely devoured. As for Lai Shang, he was completely fine. Not bad. The taste is not bad. This seat's strength has increased a little again. Continue, release your ultimate move. Lai Shang smiled proudly and walked toward the Leaf Fire demonic forefather. Ew. The Leaf Fire demonic forefather's voice trembled as he pointed at Lai Shang. Have you reached the 5th level of the Saint Spirit realm? As soon as these words came out, the surroundings were deathly silent. Despair was written all over their faces. The 5th level of the Saint Spirit realm had no hope of winning at all. From the looks of it, all of them would have to die here today. Li Hua, you have good eyes. Show me what you've got. Otherwise, I'm going to attack. Lai Shang looked at the Li Hua demonic ancestor with a cruel smile. I'll fight you to the death. The Li Hua demonic ancestor roared again. The flames on his body surged up. Above his head, it quickly condensed into a fireball. Whoosh! The fireball was getting brighter and brighter, and the dazzling light made people unable to breathe. The surrounding space was burned and distorted by this heat wave. The terrifying power of destruction made people's scalp tingle. Lai Shang's face also changed slightly when he saw this scene. He revealed a cautious look, and there was a hint of excitement hidden in his caution. Come on. He waited quietly. Go. The Li Hua demonic ancestor let out a roar. This huge fireball, with the power of destruction, quickly rushed towards Lai Shang. Crack, wherever it went, the space was directly melted and burst into pieces. Seeing this scene, Lai Shang opened his bloody mouth and sucked hard again. Whoosh! The huge fireball quickly shrank and quickly flew into Lai Shang's mouth. Crack! Lai Shang burped as if he was full. On his body, a dazzling flame lit up, burning his body. In just an instant, Lai Shang turned into a man of fire, sitting cross-legged on the ground. Whoosh! The aura on his body was growing rapidly. Everyone stared blankly at this scene, revealing a look of shock. That expression was indescribable in words. The Lihua demonic ancestor's expression changed when he saw this scene. His heart beat violently, and a wave of uneasiness was written all over his face. A moment later, crack, the sound of the realm barrier breaking rang out. At this moment, Lai Shang broke through and reached the 6th level of the Holy Spirit realm. Plop, the Lihua demonic ancestor half knelt on the ground, revealing a decadent look. The originally fiery red beard instantly turned white. His face was pale, and despair was written all over his face. Buzz, Lai Shang opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura surged out, shrouding in all directions. The corners of his mouth rose, and a look of pride was written all over his face. The 6th level of the Holy Spirit realm. Not bad, not bad. When I devour everyone, I think it won't be a problem to reach the 8th level of the Holy Spirit realm. All of this is thanks to you. Lai Shang stepped in front of the Lihua demonic ancestor and grabbed his collar. In order to express my gratitude to you, I'll give you a quick death. After saying that, Lai Shang stretched out his fist, aimed at the head of the Lihua demonic ancestor, and blasted it. The Lihua demonic ancestor's whole body was devoid of blood, just standing there like a wooden chicken, letting Lai Shang attack. No, don't. Everyone shouted when they saw this scene. However, how could they stop it? Boom! There was an explosion. The head of the Lihua demonic ancestor directly burst open. Huff! A wisp of flame whizzed past his body, instantly burning him into powder. When the wind blew, nothing was left. Fight! Ning Mingji roared, transformed into his original form, opened his bloody mouth, aimed at Lai Shang, and bit down. Die for me. Eat my stick. My sword attack. Everyone used their trump cards, aimed at Lai Shang, and blasted over. However, it was useless. Lai Shang just waved his right hand, and all the power disappeared completely. Not bad. Not bad. Your strength is beyond my expectations. I will devour you well, and there will be no waste at all. You can rest assured. After saying that, Lai Shang waved his right hand. Whoosh! Hundreds of millions of threads formed by red flames quickly entangled everyone. In the blink of an eye, everyone was tied up like a dumpling, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break free. It seems that the godly cunning immortal is not here. Lai Shang's gaze swept as if he had discovered some new continent. Chapter 617. The godly cunning immortal is not here. Killing them like this is not interesting at all. I want to devour them clean in front of the godly cunning immortal. This should be very interesting. Lai Shang said one sentence at a time, his face full of pride. Phew! He released his divine sense and enveloped the entire battlefield. However, after scanning for a long time, he did not find any trace of Sun Hao. Not here? Could he have already left? Impossible. This battlefield is under my control. There are no loopholes. If he leaves, I will definitely know. Could it be that he has some sort of concealment technique that even I am unable to sense? Since that's the case, I'll see how long you can hide. The corner of his lips curled up. He sat in the air, closed his eyes, and waited quietly. Time passed slowly. Soon, several days had passed. Lai Shang opened his eyes, his face showing a touch of puzzlement. It's been 8 days. Could it be that the godly cunning immortal is afraid? He has already run away? Impossible based on my understanding of the godly cunning immortal. He is definitely not the kind of person who leaves his men and runs away. Are you trying to ambush me while I'm devouring? How could I let you succeed? You want to compete in patience with me? I've never heard of anyone. Lai Shang thought to himself and continued to wait. Time flew, and another month passed in the blink of an eye. Ning Mingji and the others looked at Lai Shang in the sky, revealing a puzzled expression. Logically speaking, he should have already devoured everyone. So why didn't he move? What was he waiting for? Could he be waiting for the young master? Thinking of this, Ning Mingji raised his eyebrows, and a sense of uneasiness was written all over his face. Master Ming Wu, why hasn't he killed us yet? Now that the young master is not here, isn't it the right time to devour it? Su Yiling asked. Sure. Ning Mingji made a silent gesture. Su Yiling quickly shut up. She used her divine sense to speak to Ning Mingji. Master Mingwu, is he waiting for young master? Not bad. Ning Mingji nodded. I really hope that young master doesn't come. Master Mingwu, can't the young master deal with Lai Shang? Su Yiling asked. Not bad. Ning Mingji nodded. Not long ago, I could sense that young master's realm had just reached the 9th level of the Saint realm. Even if young master's talent is outstanding, dealing with a second-layer Saint Spirit realm cultivator is already the limit. Lai Shang has broken through to the 6th level of the Saint Spirit realm. Young master is no match for him. If he comes, there's only one possibility, and that is to die and become a part of Lai Shang's power. At that time, no one will be Lai Shang's opponent, and the whole world will be destroyed. Ning Mingji's words were like a clap of thunder in Su Yiling's mind. Her expression kept changing, and worry was written all over her face. Young master, I really hope you don't show up. Su Yiling prayed secretly. Shoo, keep calm and act as if nothing happened. Don't let Lai Shang find out. Ning Mingji said. And Su Yiling nodded heavily. After several adjustments, she quickly recovered her despair. However, what they didn't know was that the divine sense transmission between them was clearly transmitted to Lai Shang's ears. Since that's the case, I'll use you guys to lure this big fish. I'm afraid if I swallow him, I'll be able to surpass that old fart. At that time, I will be the heavenly Tao. Lai Shang thought secretly, and pride flew in his heart and kept rushing to his chest. He closed his eyes, showing a cultivation appearance, and continued to wait. Time passed like a white steed passing through a crevice, and in the blink of an eye, another few months had passed. Lai Shang opened his eyes, and his face showed an uncertain expression. Did the godly cunning immortal really run away? He's just a coward? Or was he delayed by something? No matter what, I'll wait another month. If he doesn't come in a month, it won't be too late for me to start devouring. Thinking like this, Lai Shang secretly made a decision. Soon a month passed. Buzz, Lai Shang opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light burst out. Killing intent was written all over his face. Godly cunning immortal, it seems that you're just a coward. In that case, I'll swallow them first. After saying that, Lai Shang took a step and stepped on Ning Mingji and the others. Lai Shang grinned, revealing a cruel smile. It seems that your young master can't come to save you. He's a coward. You've become a part of this seat's power. It should be his fault. Come on, accept the baptism of supreme glory, Lai Shang said loudly, waving his hands and raising them to the sky. Buzz, streams of flames blossomed from his hands as if they were going to incinerate the entire sky. Kacha! The skin on everyone's body cracked uncontrollably. Blood flew out of the wound and whistled straight toward Lai Shang. These blood qi quickly enveloped Lai Shang. Mournful screams sounded constantly. The blood qi on everyone's body was lost, and their bodies quickly shriveled. Soon, they turned into dried corpses, fell to the ground, burst open, and turned into powder. In just an instant, all the deities exploded into powder. As for the others with high strength, they didn't last long before they were devoured clean and turned into dried corpses. Even Ning Mingji and the others were clenching their teeth at this moment. Their physical bodies were also drying up at a speed visible to the naked eye. The originally tender beauty suddenly aged. The appearance of turning into a dried corpse was indescribable in words. How miserable it was. As time passed, boom, the sound of explosions gradually stopped. On the entire field, the only living person was Lai Shang. Endless blood qi surged up from his body. His whole aura was growing rapidly. A moment later, Kacha, the sound of the realm membrane breaking rang out. Lai Shang's realm, at this moment, reached the 7th level of the Holy Spirit realm. However, it didn't stop. The surrounding blood qi continued to whiz toward him and was swallowed into his abdomen. These blood qi quickly enhanced his strength. Half a day later, the surrounding blood qi gradually stopped and all poured into Lai Shang's body. Gotcha! At this time, Lai Shang broke through another realm and reached the 8th level of the Holy Spirit realm. The surging power surged all over his body. The corners of Lai Shang's mouth rose, and his face was full of pride. He clenched his fist excitedly, aimed at the ground, and flicked his finger. Boom! The sound of explosions kept ringing out. The entire earth was lifted up layer by layer. In the end, it completely exploded into powder. With one finger, the entire battlefield was blasted into flying ashes. Lai Shang withdrew his excitement and nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and looked at a man standing in front of him, his expression changing. This man was dressed in white. His calm appearance made people unable to see what he was thinking. When did he appear in front of him? He had no idea. However, Lai Shang quickly regained his calm. Godly cunning immortal, isn't it a little late for you to appear now? Chapter 6:18. Sun Hao stood in front of Lai Shang, his face unchanged. His expression was like that of a king who controlled everything. Lai Shang looked at Sun Hao with fear in his heart. Then, he sensed that his strength had increased explosively, and his confidence soared. Godly cunning immortal, isn't it a little late for you to appear now? Your good friends and subordinates have all been devoured by me. Now that I've reached the 8th layer sacred spirit realm, it's not impossible for me to become a legendary, heavenly venerable after devouring you. I only ask you, how will you fight me? Lai Shang said one sentence at a time, his face full of pride. However, Sun Hao did not pay attention to him. Instead, he looked at the void and said, "If you're here, come out." As soon as these words came out, Lai Shang was shocked. There's someone else? Who could it be? He looked into the void and searched for a long time, but he couldn't find anything. Could it be that his realm is higher than mine, and he can discover the existence of experts? How is this possible? Acting all mysterious, eat my fist. Lai Shang let out a roar, aimed at Sun Hao, and blasted a punch. This punch was as fast as lightning, making it impossible for anyone to react. Sun Hao showed a cautious expression. He also raised his fist and blasted it at Lai Shang. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the void seemed to burn. Layers upon layers of chi waves howled in all directions. Sun Hao and Lai Shang's bodies flew out at the same time. It took a lot of time for the two to stabilize their figures. They stared at each other with cautious expressions on their faces. Lai Shang grinned and said, "You have some strength. You can actually fight on par with this seat. I'm going to start getting serious." After speaking, Lai Shang took a step with his right leg and instantly appeared in front of Sun Hao. Sun Hao was also unwilling to show weakness. He raised his fist and fought with Lai Shang. Boom! The sound of explosions kept ringing. The entire void was in the midst of shattering, mending, and shattering. However, the speed of repair was far from being able to keep up with the speed of destruction. Swish! The spatial turbulence directly enveloped the two of them. Apart from some metallic sparks, no injuries were left on the two men's bodies. The two of them fought from the sky to the ground, and from the ground to the sky. Wherever it went, there was only fragmented space and spatial turbulence. The two of them were like a destroyer, fighting fiercely. This battle lasted for half a day. At this moment, both of them stopped at the same time. They looked at each other, both wary of each other. Interesting. Lai Shang licked the blood flowing from the corner of his mouth and showed a cruel smile. At the same time, greed flashed across his face. After I devour you, everything in this world will be mine. I can destroy however I want. Now, I'm going to get serious. After Lai Shang finished, he looked up to the sky and roared. Howl! Waves of flames gushed out from his mouth, enveloping the entire world. Phew! In the blink of an eye, Lai Shang turned into a flame giant. A destructive force was unleashed, enveloping the entire void. The terrifying high temperature burned Sun Hao's body, burning a hole in his clothes. In the face of such high temperatures, even a saint artifact could not withstand it. Ah! Lai Shang looked up to the sky and roared, as if he had gone mad. Wisps of pure flame, energy quickly condensed in front of him. A fireball was growing. Phew! The turbulent space around him could not resist these wisps of flames, and they were melting and burning rapidly. The power to destroy everything was growing rapidly. Sun Hao looked at this scene, showing a cautious expression. Phew! Without any hesitation, he took out a multicolored stone. This stone was the heaven-mending spirit stone obtained from Qin Shiluo. Phew! With a move of his mind, the energy of the heaven-mending spirit stone quickly condensed in his hand. The five-colored electric light was growing rapidly in his hand. The terrifying power was no less than the destructive fireball summoned by Lai Shang. Lai Shang roared, using all his strength to push the destructive fireball in front of him. On the other side, Sun Hao also gritted his teeth, waved his hand, and pointed at Lai Shang. Phew! The five-color lightning ball also flew away quickly. Two monstrous energies collided quickly. Boom! The earth-shaking noise continued one after another. Boundless waves of air shook out in layers. Gotcha! The space seemed to be unable to stand this kind of energy explosion and collapsed directly. A cosmic black hole was rapidly forming. Phew! The cosmic black hole, swallowing everything, seemed to stretch endlessly far away. How? In the black hole, golden light burst out from time to time, so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. At the same time, a divine sound came from the black hole, incomparably sacred. It seemed to have opened up a certain world. Phew! Sun Hao and Lai Shang's bodies were blasted away at the first time. The terrifying shock wave blasted the two of them layer by layer. Their bodies kept flying in the void, and it was difficult to stop for a while. In front of the cosmic black hole, phew! A figure slowly condensed and formed. He was an old man with white hair. In front of him, there was a little girl. This old man was none other than Yujizi. In other words, he now had another identity. That is the heavenly Tao. The corner of his mouth showed a smile of success, smiling at Lai Shang. Good disciple, you are finally useful. I will leave first, and I will leave the matter of dealing with the Tao Ancestor to you. After speaking, Yujizi jumped into the cosmic black hole with the little girl and disappeared. Lai Shang saw Yujizi's appearance in the process of flying backward, and his pupils contracted and his face changed slightly. How is this possible? I actually became his lackey again? No, an unwilling roar resounded through the void. It shook the surrounding space and kept trembling. For a long time, the two of them stabilized their figures. Sun Hao looked at the cosmic black hole and couldn't help but frown slightly. Unexpectedly, the heavenly Tao turned out to be him, and at this moment, he has already escaped. With his ability, it's not difficult to deal with me. Why run away? Sun Hao showed a puzzled look. Just now, he didn't dare to reveal his true strength. In fact, he was afraid of the heavenly Tao. Now that he had escaped, the pressure was gone, and he could concentrate on dealing with Lai Shang. Godly cunning immortal, stop. If you and I continue to fight like this, there will be no winner or loser. You and I join forces to deal with the heavenly Tao together. What do you think? Lai Shang stepped forward and said. Sun Hao smiled coldly, and his face was full of killing intent. You killed so many of my friends, and you still want to join forces? Let me ask you, are you worthy? Sun Hao stepped out and appeared directly in front of Lai Shang. His cold gaze was fixed on Lai Shang. Phew! The killing intent surged up from his body and whistled in all directions. Chapter 619. You want to kill me? My realm is far superior to yours. Even if you have a primordial holy treasure, is it enough to kill me? If you and I continue to fight, at most, we will be equal. Does this make sense? Is the heavenly Tao, and everything is directed by him. If you don't kill him, what's the point of fighting me? Lai Shang roared at the top of his lungs. Sun Hao smiled coldly. Do you think I can't kill you? Just after he finished speaking, the power in Lai Shang's body gushed out uncontrollably and flew straight to Sun Hao. Finally, it fell into a black crystal stone in Sun Hao's palm. This black crystal stone was the Chaos Xian bead. The Chaos Xian bead brightened slightly, and the black gas kept whistling. Lai Shang's voice trembled, and he frantically blocked the loss of power in his body. However, it was useless. In front of the chaos Xian bead, all his means were useless. He could only watch the power in his body flow away, and he was powerless to do anything. After a while, Lai Shang collapsed to the ground, and there was no strength in his whole body, just like a mortal. He looked at Sun Hao, his eyes full of unwillingness. Why? Could it be that all of this is your doing? What I devoured, did you deliberately let it go? Lai Shang roared loudly. Hearing this, Sun Hao's expression stagnated, and he looked at Lai Shang with a surprised face. It seems that you are not stupid. The people you devoured were all illusions I created, and those energies were provided by him. Sun Hao raised the chaos Xian bead in his hand and said, Bang! Lai Shang staggered and fell directly to the ground. He showed a look of disbelief and kept shaking his head. Impossible, impossible. It was as if he had lost his mind. There was not the slightest bit of spirit in him. Since I didn't kill your people, please spare me. I'm willing to be a cow or a horse. I beg you. After saying that, Lai Shang knelt down directly and began to kowtow to Sun Hao. Sun Hao listened to this and smiled coldly. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord, for not killing me. Lai Shang showed a grateful expression and kept kowtowing. In the next second, his expression changed drastically. However, I will refine you into a puppet and let you follow me to conquer the world. These words were like a clap of thunder, blasting Lai Shang's soul out of his body. He kept shaking his head as if he was about to cry. I don't want to become a puppet. I beg you. I don't want to become an idiot. I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to listen to everything you say. Please, don't turn me into a puppet. Lai Shang's heart sank to hell, and his whole face was extremely ugly. Even the blood-red hair on his head began to dim. I need absolutely loyal subordinates. Don't worry, I will keep your consciousness. You can hide in your body and observe everything. However, you can't control your physical body. After speaking, Sun Hao's mind moved. Phew! Above the primal chaos profound bead, waves of black energy quickly flew down and poured into Lai Shang's body. Lai Shang's body trembled violently and twitched as if he had been electrocuted. His eyes gradually turned as black as ink. The struggle also gradually stopped. His aura rapidly increased and finally reached the 6th level of the Holy Spirit realm. Although he had not reached the 8th level of the Holy Spirit realm, his strength was not weak. Greetings, Lord. Lai Shang's eyes were cold, and he directly knelt in front of Sun Hao. Get up. Yes, Lord. Lai Shang retreated to the side, just like a guard. Seeing Lai Shang standing beside him, Sun Hao nodded slightly. This battle seemed simple, but it was not simple at all. 2 months ago, he successfully obtained the inheritance and broke through to the Holy Spirit realm. After he came here, he saw Lai Shang waiting for him. Sensing Lai Shang's strength at the 6th level of the Holy Spirit realm, he was not absolutely sure that he could save everyone. Not to mention that there were still people eyeing him covetously in the dark. So he used the stealth secret technique, arranged the illusion array, and secretly sent everyone to the soul space. At the same time, he used the primal chaos profound bead to extract the power inside and let Lai Shang devour it. Thus, he drew out all the power in his body and transferred it out. Thinking of this, Sun Hao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Let's go, let's get out of here. Sun Hao looked at the black hole below, stepped forward, and was about to leave. Buzz, a terrifying divine sense instantly enveloped Sun Hao. At this moment, Sun Hao's hair stood on end, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. This feeling was the same as when he first entered the demon Ancestor's realm and was scanned by that terrifying divine sense. However, this time, this divine sense only stared at him. Looking up at the sky, Sun Hao's pupils shrank, and his face changed slightly. He saw, in the sky, 3 figures slowly descended from the sky. The leader was a middle-aged man. The surging aura rushed up from the middle-aged man and whistled in all directions. That feeling of irresistibility surged all over his body. Behind the man, 2 women kept struggling, trying to escape, but they couldn't do it. These two women were none other than Huang Yoli and Hulaina. Their bodies moved uncontrollably with the middle-aged man, as if they were fixed. Woo! The two struggled wildly, and what came out of their mouths was only a whimper. Hee! The middle-aged man smiled slightly, showing an expression of controlling everything. Looking at this middle-aged man, Sun Hao frowned slightly, and a touch of fear flashed away. This man's realm could not be seen at all, nor could he see his strength. In other words, his realm was probably far beyond his own. Now that he stood up, he must have a 90% chance of success. Sun Hao narrowed his eyes and glanced over. Deng, Lai Shang stepped out and appeared behind the middle-aged man in an instant. He raised his fist and aimed at the back of the middle-aged man's head. Lai Shang's fist lit up with a dazzling red light. The terrifying power kept shaking out, stirring up layers of ripples. Seeing that this punch was about to hit the middle-aged man's head. At this time, the middle-aged man seemed to have a pair of eyes in the back of his head, and instantly turned behind him. His right hand arrived first, and in an instant it hit Lai Shang's fist. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the world shook. The terrifying power, all attached to Lai Shang, took his body out and fell heavily to the ground. Puff! A mouthful of black blood spurted from Lai Shang's mouth. After struggling for a long time, he couldn't stand up. One punch, and Lai Shang was seriously injured. His strength, he couldn't help but make himself afraid. Who was he? Why did he appear at this time? With his strength, why did he still bind two people? A series of questions sounded in Sun Hao's heart. Chapter 620. Who are you? Sun Hao looked at the middle-aged man and asked. Huh? The middle-aged man laughed up to the sky and didn't calm down for a long time. Dao Ancestor, maybe you have forgotten this seat, but I remember everything clearly. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth, showing a face of anger. Wow! With a grasp of his right hand, a transparent palm quickly condensed and grabbed at Sun Hao. The terrifying power made Sun Hao's scalp explode, and he quickly retreated. However, it was too late. In just an instant, Sun Hao was pinched by the transparent palm, and he couldn't break free even after exhausting all his means. Sun Hao was brought to the middle-aged man. Dao Ancestor, you are really a noble person. I forget things. I remember it very clearly. 1,000,000 years ago, you left me and ran away alone. You don't remember, do you? I am your first general, Sky Demon. You don't remember anything at all? The middle-aged man said one sentence at a time, venting the anger in his heart. Sun Hao looked at the middle-aged man with a puzzled face. Sky Demon? The general of his previous life? Left him and ran away? This massive amount of information made Sun Hao unable to accept it for a while. Was he that kind of villain in his previous life? How could this be? You must not know that I survived. God, let me live to deal with you. Say, do you have any last words? The middle-aged man looked at Sun Hao as if to find regret on his face. However, he was disappointed. There was no regret on Sun Hao's face. There was only a confused face. It seemed that you really forgot. In that case, I will let you die knowing. After speaking, the middle-aged man waved his right hand. In front of him, a three-dimensional picture appeared in front of Sun Hao. In the picture, a prehistoric giant beast stood in the void. These prehistoric giant beasts were all monsters of the Dark Camp. The middle-aged man also incarnated into a giant beast to block the invasion of these giant beasts. His weak figure was simply incomparable in front of these giant beasts. However, the middle-aged man did not retreat. He blocked in front of a man who looked the same as him, showing a determined look. Master, you go quickly, I will stop them. The middle-aged man roared. No, with your strength, you can't stop them at all. Leave. Sun Hao's past life stood up and shouted. My lord, you're not going to die. You must live on. As long as you're here, there's hope. Leave it to little Yao. If it's possible in the future, please resurrect us. After saying that, the heavenly demon charged forward. She didn't even turn her head. Tears kept falling from her eyes. Sun Hao's eyes were full of tears. He gritted his teeth and left quickly. There was no suspense in the following battle. The heavenly demon used its weak body to stall the prehistoric monsters time and time again. Let Sun Hao escape in his previous life. As for itself, it was beaten up badly. In the end, it was captured and sent to the dark camp, where it was tortured every day. However, he didn't say anything useful. Until one day, the Darkness Chief released a scene, and the heavenly demon fell into despair. In that scene, in Sun Hao's previous life, he stood with a group of his subordinates and said loudly, "The Sky Demon has rebelled. Anyone who sees it must be killed without mercy." It was this sentence that caused the heavenly demon's anger to attack his heart. He told them everything he knew. The Darkness Chief led the army and directly attacked Sun Hao's previous life's lair. In that battle, the sky was dark, and the sun and moon were dark. Finally, the dark taboo was sealed, and the heavenly demon also died in the flames of war, leaving a little remnant soul to escape the battlefield. Before he left, he saw Sun Hao's previous life, but he didn't let go of his hatred. On the contrary, he hid it in his heart. Listening to this, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. "How do you know that the Darkness Chief didn't lie to you?" Sun Hao said. "Impossible." The middle-aged man shook his head directly, expressing his denial. "Those projection techniques are real. It's impossible to fake." "What about the voice?" Sun Hao asked. "Voice." This time, the middle-aged man's expression stagnated, and he seemed to think of something wrong. "The heavenly demons saved us, but anyone who saw it must try their best to rescue and rescue." Could it be that he said this sentence? Sun Hao said, "Boom!" Like a thunderclap, it blasted in the middle-aged man's ears. At this moment, he seemed to feel that he had been fooled. At that time, he was waiting for the Lord to come up to save him and forcibly support him to survive. There was not much reason left. "Impossible, just based on your words. How can I believe you? I can't destroy your previous life, but it's good to destroy your current life." The middle-aged man roared loudly. "You made a mistake, but you still know your mistake and don't change it. It seems that you have been rebellious for a long time. Now, you are just looking for an excuse." The power that bound Sun Hao's body was broken. At this moment, Sun Hao regained his freedom. He took a step forward, stepped in front of the middle-aged man, aimed at his face, and blasted a punch over. This speed was so fast that the middle-aged man couldn't react. How can a physical body be so strong? The middle-aged man's pupils contracted, and his face changed again and again. Finally, he showed a ruthless look. "So what if the physical body is strong? With your current strength, how can you exert the power of those two innate holy treasures? Break for me." The middle-aged man roared, aimed at Sun Hao, and blasted a punch with all his strength. Boom! There was a loud noise. Sun Hao's body split open, directly exploded into light and shadow, and disappeared. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged man didn't have the slightest complacency. On the contrary, his face changed dramatically. "Not good, I was fooled." The words just fell. Behind him, Sun Hao's figure appeared out of thin air. He came to Hu Laina and Huang Yuli at once, stretched out his hands, and grabbed their shoulders. Oh! Above his hands, a tin-colored light lit up. The terrifying power directly cut off the power released by the middle-aged man on the two. Boom! There was an explosion. The two instantly regained their freedom. "Young master!" Seeing Sun Hao, the two shouted, and tears were brewing in their eyes. "Senior, come into my soul space first." After speaking, Sun Hao waved his right hand and directly sent the two into the soul space. The two of them did not resist. When the middle-aged man reacted, the two had disappeared. Damn it! The middle-aged man also reacted extremely quickly, appearing in front of Sun Hao in an instant, raised his fist, and punched. Boom! With an explosion, Sun Hao's body flew out upside down and fell heavily to the ground. Just in time, he rolled in front of Lai Shang, who, with a wave of his right hand, Lai Shang's body disappeared and appeared in the soul space. From this moment on, only Sun Hao was standing in front of the middle-aged man. Everyone else had already appeared in the soul space. Chapter 6:21. The middle-aged man stood in place, and the corner of his mouth kept twitching. He looked at Sun Hao, and resentment was written all over his face. "You just talked to me for so long. You just want to save them?" The middle-aged man said. "What do you think?" Sun Hao waved his hand gently and said faintly, "Who wants to listen to your fake story?" "Fake?" The middle-aged man roared angrily. "You don't know. The suffering I have suffered is simply tragic. In the beginning, in order to save you, I was tortured in every way, and you treat me like this? Am I wrong? Today I must kill you." The middle-aged man roared loudly and quickly rushed towards Sun Hao. "Humph!" Sun Hao snorted coldly, not afraid at all. The two fought together in an instant. Boom! The sound of the explosion was continuous, and the terrifying power spread out in a spherical shape. The entire void was recovering from the fragmentation and shattering in the recovery. For a while, it couldn't stop at all. The more they fought, the more frightened the middle-aged man was. A person who had not awakened his memory could fight with him with his physical body. Sun Hao was also secretly surprised. How strong his physical body was simply unimaginable, especially after obtaining the inheritance of Dao Qingyang. His physical body had reached an unimaginably terrifying realm. He did not expect that this heavenly demon could fight on par with him. It was really unexpected. Boom! The battle continued, and the sound of explosions kept ringing. This battle lasted for half an hour. A moment later, boom! After the two men exchanged a punch, their bodies flew out upside down. They stood in place, looking at each other with a vigilant face. This physical body, it's terrible. If you get 1/10,000th of the strength of your previous life, I will leave immediately. But now, you're not my opponent yet. Next, I'm going to get serious. The words just fell. On the middle-aged man's body, a black aura surged up from his body. In the blink of an eye, it wrapped the middle-aged man. His body was like an illusion, erratic. "Sky Demon True Body," the middle-aged man roared. Suddenly, the black aura on his body rushed into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it formed a monster with a dragon's head and a tiger's body. Terrifying coercion rushed down from the monster and enveloped Sun Hao. At this moment, Sun Gungda found it extremely difficult to move his body. It was as if all the energy in his body had been sealed. He looked at the monster and could not help but frown. Boom! At the moment when Sun Hao was stunned, the monster stretched out its pitch-black claws and landed on Sun Hao as fast as lightning. Bang! Sun Hao's body flew upside down, and there were several deep bloodstains on his body that were visible to the bone. Fresh blood flowed from the wound, and soon the white robe was dyed red. Boom! Before waiting for Sun Hao's body to stop, another claw covering the sky whistled from behind and fell on Sun Hao in an instant. Sun Hao's body felt as if it had been interrupted, and he felt as if he had lost contact with his body. The severe pain came from all over his body, and Sun Hao gritted his teeth and growled. Cracks appeared all over his body. His miserable appearance was indescribable with words. However, the Sky Demon did not let him off just like that. On the contrary, he kept waving his claws and slamming them on Sun Hao. In front of the Sky Demon, Sun Hao's physical body was as weak as thin paper, tearing it apart. A mouthful of blood spurted from Sun Hao's mouth. His consciousness seemed to be about to be scattered, and he almost collapsed several times. "No, I can't die like this. Ruming has not been found. Luo Luyan has not been resurrected. And them, if I die, they can only live in the soul space forever, and they will never be able to come out. There must be a way." Sun Hao focused his attention on the spirit stone, gritted his teeth, mobilized the power in his body, and poured it into the spirit stone. However, boom! With a loud noise, Sun Hao's muscles and bones were dislocated, and Sun Hao was in pain. The miserable appearance was indescribable in words. He couldn't gather power at all and pour it into the spirit stone. Boom! The Sky Demon didn't stop at all, and he slammed Sun Hao again and again. Sun Hao was like a candle in the wind, and it would go out at any time. His teeth were clenched, and he did not give up. "Week to week, I have prepared so much, and you only have this ability, So disappointing, the sky demon said while fighting. Sunhow struggled and had no power to fight back at all. In this way, Sunhow is severely beaten by the sky demon. At the same time, in Sunhow's soul space, Ning Mingji and others flew above the void and stood in front of the brightest tin-colored round stone, showing a cautious expression. The young master is in trouble. We can't sit idly by. Ancient ripping sky. That's your body. All of this needs to be solved by you. Ning Mingji looked at Ancient Ripping Sky and said. Hearing this, Ancient Ripping Sky lay on the ground, trembling with fear. Master Wu, that's a dark taboo companion body dominating my body. How can I be its opponent? Moreover, he doesn't know that he is a companion body at all. Thinking it is me, Ancient Ripping Sky showed a look of fear. Don't worry, we will gather everyone's original power and release it into the chaos she imbued. If we can trigger 1/10 of its power, I think we can win. When the sky demon is seriously injured, Ancient Ripping Sky, you take the opportunity to return to your body and compete with him for the body. In this way, we have a chance to win. Ning Mingji said. Okay. Despite his reluctance, Ancient Ripping Sky nodded slightly. Everyone, pay attention, listen to my command, start moving. Everyone, raise your hands to the sky and chant after me. Ning Mingji's voice was like thunder, and his voice clearly spread to everyone's ears. At this moment, no matter who it was, no matter what they were doing, they all put down what they were doing at this moment. What? The young master is in trouble? The young master is a supreme existence. If he is in trouble, how can we survive? Contributing a little original power to the young master. This is nothing. Everyone sat cross-legged on the ground, raised their hands, and raised them to the sky. Then they began to chant the chant. A stream of void power flew out of their palms and went straight to the void. Then, through the void, it poured throughout the universe and flowed into Ning Mingji's chest. At this moment, Ning Mingji's chest condensed a void bead. As time passed, this bead grew bigger and bigger. The terrifying power contained in it made people's scalp tingle when they saw it. Ning Mingji opened his eyes, looked at the bead in front of him, and showed a face of joy. It's done. The words just fell. Buzz. Everyone's mind trembled, and everyone's strength seemed to be drained, and they directly collapsed to the ground. Everyone's face was deathly pale. Chapter 622. Die. Seeing Sunhow, who fell to the ground, his breath was like gossamer. The sky demon's face was full of a cold smile. The joy of revenge was written all over his face. He shouted softly, and his palm turned into a sharp claw, grabbing at Sunhow's head. Seeing that Sunhow's head was about to be crushed into powder. At this moment, Buzz, the spirit stone in Sunhow's hand, suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. A light shield turned into a rapid speed and enveloped Sunhow at once. Meanwhile, the sharp claws landed on the light barrier, causing a burst of metallic sparks. This shield firmly blocked the sky demon's attack and did not leave any injuries to Sunhow. A trace of sanity was restored on Sunhow's face. He looked at the heaven-mending spirit stone, which was emitting a 5-colored radiance, and his eyes were filled with excitement. It actually activated 5% of its power. Did Brother Ning and the others do it? Sunhow gritted his teeth and stabilized his injuries. With a thought, the heaven-mending spirit stone lit up with a dazzling 5-colored light. These rays of light quickly condensed into a 5-colored lightsaber. Buzz! The lightsaber burst forth with a world-destroying might, causing the entire sky to darken. Seeing this scene, the heavenly demon's expression changed greatly. A sense of fatal danger shrouded his heart. I was right. You still had some tricks up your sleeves. However, do you think that I don't have any more tricks up my sleeve? The heavenly beast took out an ancient pagoda. The tower was only the size of a palm and looked like it was carved out of granite. On the pagoda, dense patterns covered its entire body. Buzz, streaks of light flowed through the ancient pagoda's vein patterns. The flowing light danced rapidly, forming a beam of light that blasted towards the five-colored lightsaber in the sky. Gotcha! The beam of light and the lightsaber collided. Dazzling light enveloped heaven and earth. Space cracked inch by inch as boundless spatial turbulence surged in all directions. Gotcha! The center of the explosion quickly collapsed. In the blink of an eye, a terrifying black hole was formed. This black hole was several times larger than the previous one. Phew! A boundless suction force came from the center of the black hole and enveloped the surroundings. All matter was being devoured uncontrollably. Phew! Somehow and the sky demons' bodies were wrapped in shock waves, and their bodies flew out uncontrollably. After flying for half a minute, he finally stabilized his body. Somehow struggled for a long time and failed to stand up. His injuries were too severe, and he couldn't recover in a short period of time. These injuries were caused by the laws of the heavenly Tao. It was not something that could be healed in a short period of time. The other side, the sky demon, steadied himself. He spat out some blood from the corner of his mouth. From the looks of it, he was also injured quite badly. Suddenly, buzz, there was a tremor. A monster that looked extremely similar to a heavenly demon crawled out of the transparent ripples. It was none other than the ancient spatial rift. Phew! The space-splitting ancient beast charged straight at the sky demon. It turned into a streak of black light and burrowed into the heavenly demon's forehead. It looked like it was about to drill into the heavenly demon's forehead. At this moment, phew! A ray of light shot out from the heavenly demon's eyes and formed a light cage that enveloped the sky-cracking ancient beast. Squeak! The space-splitting ancient beast let out a miserable shriek. Wisps of black smoke rose from his body. He looked extremely miserable. Little Goo, seeing the ancient rift, Sun Hao shouted. The sky-ripping ancient god cried out in pain, tears welling up in his eyes. He seemed to be in great pain. The heavenly demon laughed strangely. That expression, as if he had obtained the ultimate magic weapon, he was very proud. I was looking for you, but I didn't expect you to come to the door yourself. It just so happens that after swallowing your soul, I can control this body very well. However, before that, let me swallow the Tao Ancestor first. The heavenly demon's eyes swept and stared directly at Sun Hao. He stepped out and instantly came to Sun Hao. The heavenly demon, looked down at Sun Hao, cold, killing intent hidden in his laughter. I didn't expect that you would have people to release the original power to save you. However, at this moment, you have no means. Do you have any last words? The heavenly demon waved his right hand, and Sun Hao's body flew out uncontrollably and fell in front of him. Sun Hao sighed secretly when he heard these words. Unexpectedly, even with everyone's strength, they couldn't hurt the heavenly demon. Could it be that the strength of the heavenly demon has reached an incredible level? Am I really going to die here? Sun Hao muttered to himself, and his face showed a look of unwillingness. He still had a lot of things to do, and he was really unwilling to die like this. It seems that you have no means. Actually, I've also planted a seed in you. After speaking, the heavenly demon waved his right hand and snapped his fingers. However, there was no reaction. Sun Hao still stood there in pain, without any change. This is impossible. The heavenly demon showed a look of disbelief. It stood to reason that with the snap of his fingers just now, Sun Hao should fall to the ground in pain, and then slowly turn into pus and become the energy of this heavenly demon. Why? There was no reaction at all. Could it be that the seed was not planted successfully? This is impossible. You didn't dual cultivate with Huang Runman? The heavenly demon asked. Dreamy dual cultivation? Sun Hao smiled bitterly. He really didn't dual cultivate with her. It seemed that there would be no chance in the future. Sun Hao shook his head slightly. What? I sent such a peerless beauty to your side. And you actually didn't dual cultivate? Are you still a man? The heavenly demon let out a burst of roars and shouted loudly. Was Runman given to him by him? Could it be that everything was a conspiracy? You are? Sun Hao asked. Haha, the heavenly demon laughed. Yes, I have another identity. That is Huang Rumen's father. She is the reincarnation of the remnant soul of your lover in your previous life, and you actually didn't dual cultivate with her. It seems that you are not a man. However, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you fell into this heavenly demon's hands. The result is the same. The heavenly demon said one sentence at a time, and his face was full of pride. After a long time, he gradually calmed down. Who? His gaze swept and stared directly at Sun Hao. Now you know everything. Even if you die, you should die in peace. Say, do you have any last words? The heavenly demon looked at Sun Hao and said faintly. Sun Hao's expression stagnated. There seemed to be 1,000 words in his heart, but he couldn't say it to anyone at the moment. Finally, he swept his gaze to the ancient ripping sky. Can you let him go? Sun Hao said. Ha! The heavenly demon looked up to the sky and laughed as if he had heard the best joke. It seems that you have finished saying your last words. If that's the case, then go to hell. After speaking, the heavenly demon stretched out his sharp claws, aimed at Sun Hao's head, and grabbed down. The terrifying power made Sun Hao unable to resist at all. Is everything going to end? But I don't like this ending. Sun Hao closed his eyes, showing a face of unwillingness, seeing that the sharp claws were about to tear Sun Hao's head. At this time, Buzz, there was a tremor in the void. Chapter 6:23. Buzz, above the void, there was a sudden shock. At this moment, time froze, and space was still. Everything came to a standstill at this moment. The claw that grabbed Sun Hao was also fixed in place. Buzz, the void shook up layers of ripples, and a figure emerged from the ripples and slowly fell. She was dressed in a white gown and wore a golden crown on her head. The scepter in her hand was shining brightly. Elven-like ears, set against the delicate face, could not pick out a trace of fault. She looked like a queen at the top of the universe, making people worship at first sight. This woman was none other than Huang Romeng. Who? Her gaze swept and just stared at Sun Hao. Young master, her figure drifted down, and tears of heartache poured down. Soon, she stood in front of Sun Hao and held him. Rumeng? Sun Hao opened his eyes with difficulty, his eyes blurred, showing a look of disbelief. Young master, don't talk. Huang Romeng pressed her finger against Sun Hao's lips, motioning him not to speak. Buzz. With a move of her mind, the scepter in her hand lit up with a dazzling light. Who? A burst of white light lit up from the scepter and quickly rushed toward Sun Hao. In an instant, it entered Sun Hao's body. The Tao injury caused by the law of heaven on his body was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. These rays of light poured into his body and drilled into his meridians. His whole body was like being electrocuted, numb. Ah! Sun Hao cried out softly in comfort. Huang Romeng looked at Sun Hao's appearance, and her face blushed. A moment later, Sun Hao opened his eyes, and his whole person recovered as before. Rumeng. He grabbed Huang Rumeng's small hand and hugged her into his arms. He hugged her tightly and wouldn't let go. Young master. Huang Romeng also hugged Sun Hao tightly. Decades of lovesickness seemed to have passed 1,000,000 years. At this moment, it all erupted. The two didn't speak, unwilling to break this moment. Everything was in silence. Time passed little by little. Not far from the two of them, the heavenly demon's eyeballs slowly turned, and then his fingers slowly moved. Kacha! The sound of an eggshell cracking sounded. Bang! The power that bound the sky demon's body instantly shattered. Ah! The heavenly monster let out a furious roar. This sound awakened Huang Romeng and Sun Hao. Sun Hao was about to move, but was stopped by Huang Romeng. Young master, just leave it to me. After Huang Romeng finished speaking, she took a step forward and instantly disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the heavenly demon. Like a queen, she stared at the heavenly demon, her cold killing intent unconcealed. The heavenly demon also stared at Huang Romeng with a puzzled expression. Huang Romeng, you're not dead? How is that possible? The heavenly demon said. Huang Romeng just smiled coldly. She raised her scepter, aimed it forward, and blasted it out. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Before the sky demon could even react, he was sent flying and heavily crashed into the ground. Then, he was wrapped by a force and brought to Huang Rumeng's body. Several bloody wounds appeared on the heavenly demon's body. The slightest movement caused fresh blood to flow, and the pain caused him to gasp in shock. You've actually reached the holy venerable realm? How is this possible? The heavenly demon looked at Huang Rumeng, unwilling to believe everything in front of him. However, boom, waiting for him, it was Huang Rumeng's scepter that blasted over. This blow once again cracked his body, and blood flowed. Then, he was sent to Huang Rumeng by another force. In this way, after the heavenly demon was tossed back and forth several times, he was already miserable, falling to the ground, and his breath was like a gossamer. On his face, there was a look of unwillingness. "Girl, do you think this seat has no backup? Get up for me." The heavenly demon used all his strength and roared. However, there was no reaction from Huang Rumeng. She still stood there calmly, as if looking at a dead person. "This is impossible. How can the heavenly goo poison I planted in you be gone?" The heavenly demon kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe all this. Huang Rumeng did not explain, just smiled faintly. She raised her scepter and pointed it at the heavenly demon. Wisps of golden light lit up from the scepter. Like lightning, it pounced on the heavenly demon. Hiss! The heavenly demon's body trembled rapidly. His soul, uncontrollably, slowly flew out and was bound in midair. The heavenly demon's soul was pitch black, with spikes all over his body. It looked like a hedgehog. "Spare me." The heavenly demon's soul knelt in front of Huang Rumeng and kowtowed in salute. "Die." Huang Rumeng was like a cold god of death, without any mercy. She raised her scepter and pointed it. Hiss! The gem on the scepter lit up with a dazzling light, as if to illuminate the whole world. No, a roar of unwillingness resounded through the world. Boom, like thunder. The heavenly demon's soul directly exploded into nothingness, disappearing completely. All around, calm was restored again. Oh, Huang Rumeng did not stop, and the scepter pointed. The ancient sky-ripping soul flew out and fell in front of Huang Rumeng. The ancient sky-ripping soul crawled on the ground, incomparably nothingness. It looked like it would dissipate at any time. Who? Huang Rumeng's mind pointed, and above the scepter, a dazzling light lit up. Buzz! There was a shock. The broken soul fragments of the heavenly demon were rushing over quickly. It turned into a slow and pure soul force, floating quietly in front of Huang Rumeng. When the ancient sky-ripping soul saw this scene, he revealed a greedy look. Oh, these soul forces quickly poured into the ancient sky-ripping soul. The ancient sky-ripping soul was recovering rapidly. Not only that, but his soul was also growing rapidly. After a while, the ancient sky-ripping soul opened his eyes, revealing a look of ecstasy. Facing Huang Rumeng, he bowed deeply, gratitude written all over his face. "No need to be so polite. Go back to your original body." Huang Rumeng waved her right hand, and the heavenly demon, no, it should be the body of the ancient sky-ripping soul, was flying over quickly. At the same time, the wounds on his body were also recovering quickly. After the ancient sky-ripping soul clasped his fist, he turned into a stream of light and quickly drilled into the body. After a while, the ancient sky-ripping soul merged with the body and could not be distinguished. The aura of the 9th level of the Holy Spirit realm rushed out from his body, incomparably surging. His body shrank rapidly and turned into a black little puppy, circling around Huang Rumeng. "Okay, go protect the young master well." Huang Rumeng pointed at Sun Hao and said, "Woo." The ancient sky-ripping soul nodded repeatedly, showing a firm look. He took a step with his short legs and quickly ran to Sun Hao. Like a little licking dog, he kept flattering Sun Hao. Chapter 624. Young Master. Huang Rumeng looked at Sun Hao, hesitating to speak. There seemed to be thousands of words, but she couldn't say them at this moment. Rumung, what the hell happened? Can't you tell me? Sun Hao took Huang Ruming's little hand and asked, Young master, I can't say it now. You will understand everything soon. Huang Ruming shook her head slightly, showing an apologetic look. Are they all okay? Huang Ruming understood Sun Hao's meaning as soon as she heard it. This was asking about the safety of Lu Xiao, Sun Wuquang, and the others. After all, they disappeared at the same time as her. It was normal for the young master to be worried. Huang Ruming nodded slightly. Young master, it's okay. Everyone is fine. If you have something to do, just do it. At this point, Huang Ruming looked at the two black holes below. The two black holes were approaching quickly. Once fused together, a terrifying explosion would occur. Huang Ruming's face changed slightly, raised her scepter, and waved it again. With each wave of her scepter, a circular halo floated in front of her. These circular halos were connected together, like a screw, and quickly drilled toward a black hole. Gotcha! The sound of cracks kept ringing. A black hole, like an eggshell bursting, directly exploded into nothingness and disappeared completely. Sun Hao's eyes widened, showing incredible surprise. She could actually get the black hole away. This strength was simply unimaginable. Just what realm did dreamlike strength reach? Unexpectedly, the Rumung he worried about had grown to this level. It was simply unimaginable. Huang Rumung waved her right hand again. Wisps of light quickly rushed toward another black hole. A sound shook from the black hole. Golden light gushed up. A sacred sound came from the black hole. Sun Hao was stunned for a while. Huang Rumung looked at these and nodded with satisfaction. Withdrawing her gaze, Huang Rumung walked to Sun Hao. Young master, this black hole has been discovered by me, and it leads directly to the heaven realm. You can go to the heaven realm through here. By the way, young master, I'm leaving. You have to take care. Huang Rumung looked at Sun Hao with a reluctant face. Hearing this, Sun Hao was shocked. How long had it been? And he was already leaving. He had been thinking about it day and night, and only now did he see it. How could he bear to do that? Many days of longing turned into a driving force, bringing Sun Hao and quickly rushing toward Huang Rumung. Sun Hao took Huang Ruming's hand and held her in his arms. Rumung, don't go. Stay with me, okay? Sun Hao hugged Huang Rumung tightly, unwilling to let go. Huang Rumung's body trembled, and just as she was about to speak, she was kissed. The roar of the divine dragon seemed to break through the 9 heavens. The phoenix hands split the sky, shaking heaven and earth. The divine dragon was caught in the hands of the phoenix. No matter how hard it struggled, it could not break free. It was a terrifying scene, as if it was going to destroy the world. The two of them were honest with each other and began a fight. Gusts of chi swept across the surroundings, sweeping across the 9 heavens. The terrifying aura caused everyone's scalp to go numb and cold sweat to flow. The scene of the battle was hard to describe. It could only be understood but not conveyed in words. In the battle, Sun Hao's strength was rapidly increasing. All the cells in his body became active as if they had taken chicken blood. Every pore opened up and spewed out multicolored light. It looked like he was cultivating the treasure body of heaven and earth. Time passed by. Sun Hao's strength was improving rapidly over time, especially the improvement of the soul. It was simply indescribable. The whole person was as comfortable as going to a different world, indescribable. In this battle, it lasted for a full half a day. At this moment, Sun Hao looked up to the sky and let out a loud roar. The terrifying power, like water released from a sluice gate, rushed over. These forces quickly poured into Huang Rumung's body. Under the stimulation of the extreme energy, Huang Rumung could no longer control herself and let out a low cry. Gotcha! The realm membrane on the two of them shattered at the same time at this moment. Sun Hao's realm was directly promoted from the first level of the Holy Spirit realm to the third level of the Holy Spirit realm. His physical body was strengthened again, promoted to an unimaginable realm. If he faced the Sky Demon now, it would be impossible to be beaten black and blue by him. Even with his physical body alone, he could blast the Sky Demon's soul away. In addition, his soul and state of mind were also strengthened. On the other side, Huang Ruming also stood in place with a look of astonishment. Shock was written all over her face. Unexpectedly, with the young master's double cultivation, she actually improved by 2 small realms. It was incredible. Young master, I don't have much time. I have to leave here. You must take care. Huang Ruming threw herself into Sun Hao's arms and held him tightly, unwilling to let go. Ruming, can you not go? Sun Hao's face was full of reluctance. Young master, I can't stay. Huang Ruming shook her head for a while, showing an apologetic look. Young master, when you go to the chaotic star territory, you will understand everything. All the truth is there. Now, I can't say anything. I can't say anything. Huang Ruming's face was full of bitterness. There was an unspeakable bitterness in his heart. Sun Hao listened to this and nodded slightly. It seemed that Rumung had her own difficulties. However, as long as she was fine, everything was fine. Rumung, then you have to take care too. Sun Hao looked at Huang Rumung and said, Yes, young master. The two kissed each other again, unwilling to separate for a long time. Young master, I'm leaving. Huang Rumung tidied up her clothes and became a cold queen again. Buzz, the scepter in her hand, pointed to the sky, instantly shaking out layers of ripples. Huang Rumung took a step forward and stepped forward. With one step, she stood in front of the ripples, looked back at Sun Hao, then stepped into the ripples. Buzz! There was a shock. The ripples on the void were all restored to their original state. Huang Rumung disappeared completely. The whole field returned to dead silence. As if nothing had happened, Sun Hao stared at the sky and did not retract his gaze for a long time. That kind of reluctance and unwillingness were written all over his face. Huang Ruming's departure was like poking some pain point in him. After a long time, Sun Hao took a long breath and calmed down slightly. Rumung, don't worry, I will work hard. Next, I will go to the Heaven Realm, to the legendary chaotic star territory. I like to see what truth is there. Sun Hao's face gradually became firm. He looked at the black hole below, stepped forward, and walked toward the black hole. Buzz! Without any hesitation, Sun Hao stepped into the black hole and disappeared. Not long after Sun Hao left, a transparent figure slowly condensed and formed. From the appearance, she was a woman with an excellent figure. She looked at the black hole below, and the corner of her mouth raised a faint smile. Your strength has grown well, but it's not enough. After saying this, the transparent woman's figure slowly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 6:25. Heaven Realm, First Heaven. Buzz, layers of ripples suddenly appeared in the sky, and a figure emerged from the ripples, appearing in the void. This figure was none other than Sun Hao. This is the Heaven Realm? Sun Hao looked around with a puzzled face. The sky was dark, and the ground was covered in jagged rocks. Howl! The surrounding wind howled like a dragon's roar. The wind blew on the rocks, turning them into dust. A putrid smell wafted into their nostrils along with the strong wind, causing their stomachs to churn. Even Sun Hao felt nauseous when he smelled these smells. Have I been teleported to the land? It doesn't seem like the land is this chaotic. Sun Hao muttered to himself with a puzzled expression. Let me see what exactly happened. Sun Hao released his divine sense and shrouded the surroundings. Buzz, in an instant, he felt as if his mind was going to explode. He felt extremely uncomfortable. It was impossible to release one's spiritual will in this place. What was going on? I wonder if laws can be used. Sun Hao's mind moved and used the law of fire. Sizzle! At his fingertip, a ball of flame sprang up. Phew! A gust of wind blew past, instantly extinguishing the flames in his hand. Law of fire won't work, but law of space should work, right? Sun Hao once again released the law of space and stepped out. Bang! It was as if he had rammed into an iron wall, causing his head to ring. Sun Hao covered his head, stood up, and looked around in astonishment. This place was extremely strange. Was it really the Heaven Realm? Then, Sun Hao continued to use other laws. As expected, none of the laws could be used. Even secret techniques, cultivation techniques, and skills couldn't be used. In this place, the only thing that could be used was the physical body. The material density in heaven realm should be higher, right? Sun Hao walked to a boulder, stretched out his fist, aimed at the boulder, and punched it. Boom! There was a dull sound. Gotcha! A crack quickly appeared on the boulder and spread out in all directions like a spider web. This, Sun Hao's eyes widened in astonishment. He didn't expect that, even after using 50% of his strength, he would only be able to create a crack. This was truly unimaginable. With his current strength, it would not be a problem for him to blast a star into nothingness with a single punch. Unexpectedly, in the heavenly realm, he couldn't even break a single rock. I don't believe it. Sun Hao stretched out his fist and blasted it on the boulder. Bang! After a few punches, the rock suddenly cracked and broke into dozens of pieces. The strength and density of his substance are so terrifying. It seems like the heaven realm is not simple. Sun Hao thought secretly, showing a look of astonishment. I wonder if the soul space can be opened? Sun Hao's mind moved and found that the soul space could not be opened at all. F***CK, you can't even open this? Sun Hao's forehead turned black, and his face didn't look good. Both of his primordial saint treasures were in his soul dimension. If he couldn't open it, it meant that he couldn't take out the Khanate saint treasure. The space ring can be opened, right? Sun Hao moved his mind and hit the interspatial ring on his finger. Inside the universe ring was the saint origin pearl that he had prepared earlier. These Saint Chi beads were all condensed from Saint Chi and contained an incomparably majestic amount of Saint Chi. This was prepared by himself in advance. With these things, he could just replenish his energy consumption. Being able to open the space ring, Sun Hao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He looked in one direction, and when he was about to take a step, he couldn't help but look startled. He saw a woman in green gauze was stepping forward and running toward him quickly. Her feet were like lightning, and she floated in front of Sun Hao, pulling his hand, and was about to leave, but found that Sun Hao was as stable as Mount Tai, and she couldn't pull him away at all. On the contrary, because of the reaction force, the green gauze woman directly bumped into Sun Hao's arms. He completely bumped into a fragrant jade embrace. The green gauze woman's face was red, and she quickly broke free. Her face was anxious. "Young master, hurry, come with me. It's dangerous here." Dangerous? Sun Hao nodded, exerted his legs, and under the lead of the green gauze woman, the two rose into the air. Soon, they disappeared into the vast sky. Not long after they left, roar, waves of monsters' angry roars resounded through the world. A monster several meters tall, with a mouth full of sharp teeth, stepped on the ground, cracked the stones, and shook the earth. The horrifying scene made people's hearts tremble. Sun Hao looked back, and his scalp exploded. The stone that he had to use all his strength to crack was easily crushed by the monster. If he faced them, wouldn't it be a dead end? At this point, Sun Hao secretly wiped his cold sweat, showing a look of fear. He turned around, looked at the woman who pulled him, and began to look up and down. The woman was wearing a green gauze, and her figure was curvaceous. Although she was not as beautiful as Huang Rameng, she was also pure and lovely, giving people a kind of youthful vitality. She can actually fly? Why can't I fly? Sun Hao muttered to himself, puzzled. "Young master, are you from the lower realm?" The green gauze woman looked back, and after seeing that she was out of danger, she couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. Then she asked. Sun Hao was startled. "How did you see it?" The green gauze woman smiled slightly and said, "Because young master has not cultivated the power of heaven." The power of heaven? Sun Hao was puzzled. "Young master, let me introduce you. The heaven realm is divided into 33 layers of heaven, and our location is the first layer of heaven. The entire 33 layers of heaven are restricted by the law of heaven, which can suppress all other forces. Even the physical body will be suppressed to less than a 10,000th. Moreover, the material density of the heaven realm is much stronger than that of other realms." The green gauze woman said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. It turned out to be like this. No wonder he could only smash a stone with a full blow. In this way, If you want to survive in the heaven realm, you must cultivate the power of heaven? Sun Hao asked. Yes. The green gauze woman nodded. Only by cultivating the power of heaven can you survive in the heaven realm. However, the power of heaven is extremely precious and extremely difficult to find. Generally, only one position can be cultivated, and I cultivate my legs, so I am good at speed and flying. The green gauze woman said. Can't you cultivate your whole body? Sun Hao asked. Hearing this, the green gauze woman's face changed slightly, and she shook her head again and again. The power of heaven needed to cultivate the whole body is unimaginable. Presumably, only existences like the Celestial Emperor can cultivate the whole body. The green gauze woman looked up at the sky, showing a face of envy. May I ask your name? Sun Hao looked at the green gauze woman and asked. Chapter 6:26. Young Master, my name is Qingru. You could just call me Xiaoru. The green-veiled woman said. Qingru? Good name. Have you been living in the heavenly realm? Sun Hao asked. Yes, 1,000 years ago, I controlled the 100-flower garden of the first heaven. But now, as she said this, Qingru sighed inwardly. What happened in the past 1,000 years? Sun Hao asked. Yes, young master. Qingru nodded slightly. 1,000 years ago, the heaven realm underwent a sudden change. The Grand Tao laws and energy were all sealed. Suddenly, a new energy appeared, and that was the power of heaven. All the deities in the division can only cultivate the power of heaven. The Celestial Arch has sent out various deities, but he still could not find a reason for the changes in the heaven realm. If that's all, that's fine too. One day, the gate of the abyss suddenly appeared in the heaven realm. Countless abyssal monsters gushed out of it. Furthermore, their strength doesn't seem to be suppressed at all. It's unimaginably terrifying. War broke out everywhere, and the heaven realm army was no match for them. The heavenly realm was unable to produce immortals, and all of them became food for the abyssal monsters. Only an extremely small number of people are able to rely on ancient runes to build fortresses and survive. I'm afraid there are less than 20,000 people left in our first heaven. As Qingru spoke, her eyes were filled with tears. She was trying her best not to cry. Abyssal monster? Didn't it open not long ago? Could it be that the way of heaven has been opened in advance? That's not possible. If that's not the case, wouldn't it have been 1,000 years since I came to the heaven realm from the demon ancestor realm? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's scalp was numb. He recalled how he had fainted after entering the black hole. When he woke up, he happened to be here. Unexpectedly, 1,000 years had passed. Then where are you taking me now? Sun Hao asked. Young master, this is our village. That location is relatively hidden. The abyssal monsters haven't found it yet. Look, we're almost there. Qingru pointed ahead with a look of joy on her face. Following Qingru's finger, Sun Hao only saw a desert and nothing else. Phew. Qingru brought Sun Hao down slowly. She looked ahead and started to form hand seals. In front of her, the space slowly distorted and rippled. Young master, follow me. Qingru stretched out her hand and pulled Sun Hao to the front. Buzz. It was as if he had passed through a barrier. In front of Sun Hao, there was a small village. He was now at the entrance of the village. More than a dozen strong men clad in armor and wielding spears were looking at him warily. In front of the muscular man, a white-bearded old man with a wooden staff in his hand walked forward with a smile. He held out his hand in a gesture of friendship. Greetings, young master. I am Qingmu. Welcome to Gumu village. May I know your name? The white-bearded old man had an amiable expression on his face, making others feel very comfortable when they saw him. My name is Sun Hao. Sun Hao said. So it's young master Sun Hao. Follow this old man to the Guardian Spirit Temple first. The white-bearded old man said. Guardian Spirit Temple? Sun Hao was puzzled. At this moment, Qingru walked up and explained, Sir, the Patriarch is trying to eliminate your suspicion. Suspect? Sun Hao is even more confused. Do I look like a bad person? Young master, there are some abyssal monsters that can take human form and hide among us. They're the spies sent to gather information. Only the guardian spirit would be able to see through the young master's true identity. Qingru said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. Right now, all his strength was restrained. In front of them, even if he wanted to struggle, he wouldn't be able to do it. He could only take one step at a time. All right, let's go then. Young master, please. Qingru pulled Sun Hao's hand and followed behind the white-bearded old man. The group quickly walked towards the center of the village. Little Ru, halfway there, a bald man quickly ran over. I heard that you found a man from the lower realm. Is this true? The bald man, who was originally happy, couldn't help but change his expression when he saw Qingru holding Sun Hao's hand tightly. The words that came out of his mouth gradually came to a stop. The corner of his mouth twitched. His anger seemed to be about to burst out of his eyes. When Qingru saw the bald man's gaze, she quickly let go of Sun Hao. Brother Qinghua, why are you here? Aren't you cultivating? Qingru said. Little Ru, didn't I miss you? The bald man scratched his head and grinned. He directly inserted himself between Sun Hao and Qingru. He looked Sun Hao up and down with obvious hostility. The corner of Sun Hao's mouth raised slightly. He didn't take it seriously. This is the person you found? The bald man asked. That's right. Qingru nodded. He's called Young Master Sun Hao. He doesn't have any heaven power in him. It seems that he's still a rookie. At this point, the bald man raised his head high with a proud expression. Qinghua, you can't say that. Qingru had a serious expression. Little Ru, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm just speaking the truth. Sun Hao turned a deaf ear to the voices of the two people beside him. Along the way, his gaze swept to the roadside from time to time. On both sides of the road, men and women stood in place and smiled and nodded at Sun Hao from time to time to show their friendliness. Soon, under the white-bearded old man's lead, Sun Hao stood in front of an ancestral temple made of stone. In front of the ancestral temple, there was a 5-meter-tall female statue. Greetings, Lord Guardian Spirit. This is the person from the lower realm that we found. Lord Guardian Spirit, please show yourself and see if he's a spy of the abyss monster. The white-bearded old man stood in front of the statue and respectfully knelt down. Buzz! Above the statue, there was a sudden vibration. A woman with golden light all over her body flew out of the statue. The golden light was like silk, quickly sprinkling in all directions. It looked like a god descending to the earth, making people worship her. Huff! The golden light woman opened her eyes, and 2 golden eyes, as fast as lightning, swept directly on Sun Hao. Sun Hao's mind tightened, and his whole body felt uncomfortable. However, this feeling came quickly and left even faster. The golden light woman retracted her gaze, and shock was written all over her face. This appearance, it was as if she saw a monster. After a long time, the golden light woman retracted her gaze. Talent has never been seen since ancient times. Cultivate well. After saying this, the golden light woman slowly faded, turned into a golden light, drilled into the statue, and disappeared. Hearing this, the faces of Qingru and the others showed incomparable shock. Her whole body trembled slightly with excitement, and she looked at Sun Hao as if looking at a treasure. This is impossible? How can a person from the lower realm have a talent that has never been seen since ancient times? Could it be that he was transformed by the abyss monster to deceive us? The bald man pointed at Sun Hao and said loudly, Shut up! Qing Mu shouted softly, pointed at the bald man, and scolded, Qinghua, are you doubting the Lord Guardian Spirit? The bald man was speechless for a while. Such disrespectful words. Don't say any more. Quickly retreat. Qing Mu snorted coldly. Yes. The bald man glanced at Sun Hao, and there was unwillingness and resentment in his eyes. Chapter 6:27. Young Master, I'm really sorry. Qinghua is a straightforward person. Please don't mind him. Qing Mu stood in front of Sun Hao and cupped his fists. His attitude toward Sun Hao had obviously changed. Sun Hao smiled. Patriarch, don't worry about such a small matter. Thank you, young master. Qing Mu showed a face of gratitude and made a gesture. Young master, please follow me. Sun Hao nodded and followed Qing Mu. Young master, rest for today. Tomorrow, I'll bring you to choose a heavenly power technique, and then follow me to the heavenly power pond to temper. With young master's talent, you'll be able to cultivate a heavenly power technique to great success in 10 years. Qing Mu said. What? Qing Ru's eyes widened in disbelief. Patriarch, how is this possible? What's impossible? Qing Mu's face was firm. Patriarch, in the past 1,000 years, the most powerful genius in the heaven realm, Xiao Yu, spent 100 years to cultivate the technique to great success. Qing Ru said, Little girl, you're doubting the guardian spirit. We'll see if he can cultivate it to great success in 10 years. Qing Mu's face was full of expectation. Okay, Patriarch, I believe you okay? Qing Ru nodded repeatedly. Soon, the group arrived in front of a pavilion. Young master, if you don't mind, you can live here from now on. Sun Hao nodded slightly. In the current situation, he could only take one step at a time. First, he had to figure out the situation in the heaven realm. At that time, he would find a way to find the Chaos Star region and find out the truth. Young master, this old man still has something to do, so I'll leave first. Qing Mu said and looked at Qing Ru. Little Ru, accompany young master around. Yes, Patriarch. Qing Ru nodded. After Qing Mu left, Qing Ru walked in front of Sun Hao and extended her hand. Young master, please. Thank you, Little Ru. Sun Hao said. Young master, don't be polite with me. You must have a lot of questions. Qing Ru asked. That's right. Sun Hao nodded. Where did your cultivation technique come from? Young master, this cultivation technique also appeared when the heaven realm changed. Everyone has heard of this cultivation technique. It is to absorb the power of the heavens into the meridians and cultivate the relevant parts. Qing Ru said. In this way, everyone can cultivate whichever part they want. Sun Hao asked. That's not true either. Qing Ru nodded slightly. Everyone has different parts of their body and their affinity with the heavenly energy. Generally speaking, everyone would cultivate the body part with the highest affinity, Qing Ru said. So that was how it was. Sun Hao nodded secretly. If his divine dragon had the highest affinity with the power of heaven, wouldn't he be able to cultivate the divine dragon? When one cultivated to the highest realm, they could just take off their pants and unleash their divine dragon. Wouldn't they be invincible in the world? Thinking of this, Sun Hao couldn't help blushing. How could he have such thoughts? Young master, take me for example. My legs have an extremely high affinity with heavenly energy. That's why I train my legs. Qing Ru said, What's with the heavenly power pond? Does it contain heavenly power? Sun Hao asked. That's right. Qing Ru nodded. Below the heavenly power pond is a heavenly power mineral vein. Every year, it can produce 5 June of heavenly power. After merging into the pond, it will be easy for the human body to absorb. Everyone in our village has one opportunity to go to the heavenly power pond to absorb every year. Each time, it can only be absorbed for 2 hours. If you want to get more opportunities, you have to make more contributions, Qing Ru said. Contribution? The corner of Sun Hao's mouth raised slightly. Although this village was small, it had everything. It even had contribution. This feeling was like entering a sect. There are many ways to get contribution. For example, looking for people from the lower realm. For example, killing abyss monsters and seizing abyss crystals. Or seizing resources from other villages. Qing Ru introduced in great detail, as if she was afraid that Sun Hao didn't know. In this way, there are many villages like yours? That's right. There is one thing I don't understand. Why are you looking for people from the lower realm? Sun Hao asked. Young master, people from the lower realm usually don't cultivate. They're like unpolished jade. Maybe they will pick up a treasure, like young master. And the reason for looking for people from the lower realm is generally to replenish personnel. Our village has more than a dozen people die every year. If we don't get replenishment, the village will be consumed sooner or later and be annexed by other villages. Qing Ru said, Don't tell me that all of you in the first heaven cannot unite and become one. Why kill each other? Sun Hao asked. Young master, how can it be so easy? Qing Ru's face was full of bitterness. Not to mention that the first layer of heaven is extremely huge. Just the tens of thousands of people together will attract the attention of the experts in the abyss monsters. At that time, there is only one possibility to turn the spearhead against us, and that is death. In addition, the heavenly power resources are limited and scattered everywhere. It is difficult to gather them. With so many people gathered together, it is not enough to cultivate it all. What's more, in every annexation, the men and the elderly in the tribe were all killed, leaving only the women who could bear children alive. Listening to this, Sun Hao showed a look of realization. It was like entering a primitive tribe. All the actions were extremely primitive. He thought that he had entered a high world, but the reality seemed to be completely different. The two walked and talked. Unknowingly, they came to the center of the village. Ancient runes, rise for me. This is a rune array that can be hidden. The abyss monsters can't see it. Even the people of other tribes can't enter without our rune. A voice attracted Sun Hao's attention. Looking up, Sun Hao's pupils shrank. He saw. In front of Sun Hao was a square. On the square, there was a stone pillar standing. On the pillar, there was a transparent crystal ball. The power on it was vast, quickly rushing into the sky, covering the entire village. Beside the stone pillar, middle-aged men kept shouting at the crystal ball. Wisps of light flew out of their mouths, turning into ancient runes in midair and quickly pouring into the crystal ball. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao couldn't help but widen his eyes. Word of law enforcement? Hearing this, Qing Ru smiled slightly. Young master, this is not the word of law, but the law enforcement technique. Law enforcement technique? Sun Hao looked puzzled. Young master, the law enforcement technique is a kind of top-grade cultivation technique. It is extremely difficult to cultivate. In my Gumu village, only the 4 of them have cultivated it to the realm of small success. Our village's rune array relies on them to support it. Otherwise, I'm afraid our village would have been wiped out by the abyss monsters. Qingru said, word by word. Chapter 628. How do I cultivate this technique? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the technique uses the power of heaven to refine the tongue. When it reaches the initial stage, one will be able to speak the law. However, it can only be used against people with lower strength. It is basically ineffective against people with higher strength. Moreover, it is extremely difficult to cultivate. Qingru said, I heard you say that there is a number 1 genius in the first heaven who seems to cultivate the technique. Is he also very weak? Sun Hao asked. Young master, are you talking about Howling Moon? Qingru's eyes were filled with fear. He is the most powerful expert in the first heaven that I have ever seen. That time, I saw him destroy a village by himself and dig the roots of the power of heaven back. If it wasn't for his power of heaven being used up, if it wasn't for my speed and ability to fly, I am afraid that I would have been killed by him. Qingru said, Howling Moon? Sun Hao frowned slightly. He really killed all the people who fell. Young master, I saw it with my own eyes. Qingru nodded slightly. After being attacked by the abyss monsters, we should have joined forces. However, in the end, he casually killed others with his own strength. Such a person really shouldn't be left in this world. However, I don't know if what Qingru said is true or not. Let's talk about it after investigating. Sun Hao thought to himself and made a decision. Cultivating the technique is a supreme grade technique. Is there anything more powerful than that? Sun Hao asked. Qingru frowned slightly and revealed a thoughtful expression. After a moment, she raised her eyebrows and said, Young master, I heard from the clan leader that there is a supreme technique above the supreme grade, and that is the mental technique. Mental technique? Sun Hao revealed a puzzled expression. Young master, the mental technique refines the mind. However, the mind is extremely fragile and it is very difficult to refine. Even if there is a genius in this area, they will not be able to endure that kind of pain. In the past 1,000 years, in the first heaven, I have not met an expert who cultivates the mental technique. Qingru said, What if there is such an expert? How strong would he be? Sun Hao asked. Such an expert, when cultivated to great success, will be able to reach power with just a thought, even more terrifying than the technique. Basically, no one in the same realm is a match for me. Moreover, it won't be a problem for me to defeat 1,000 opponents of the same level. Qingru's words left Sun Hao dumbfounded and shocked. The two of them continued forward. Qingru helped Sun Hao answer his doubts. He would answer everything he knew. At the same time, in a pavilion, a bald man was sitting at the table, reading an ancient book. This bald head was Qingguo, who Sun Hao had seen not long ago. Creak! At the door, a gray-clothed man quickly slipped in. That wretched look of his made others want to slap him a few times. After closing the door, the man walked forward. "How is it?" Qingguo asked. "Brother Guo, Xiaoru, and that Sun Hao guy are talking very happily, laughing from time to time. I've never seen Xiaoru this happy." Just as he finished speaking, bang, Qingguo pinched with 2 fingers, and the cup in her hand instantly shattered into powder. "Damn brat. I don't care how talented you are. The woman I fancy is not someone you can touch. When you finish cultivating, I will challenge you. See if I don't twist your head off." Qingguo's face was distorted, and she was furious. That appearance seemed to want to swallow Sun Hao. "Brother Guo, calm down. I'm afraid your performance today has attracted the attention of the patriarch. At this moment, you must keep a low profile," the gray-clothed man said. "Then what good plan do you have?" Qingguo asked. "Brother Guo, I have a plan," the gray-clothed man said. Qingguo's eyes lit up when she heard it. "Let's hear it." "Brother Guo, since that little one is regarded as the first genius, he will definitely go out to perform tasks. As long as we are in the outside world," the gray-clothed man made a gesture of cutting his neck. "This way, no one will know." Okay. Qingguo's eyes were shining, looking at the gray-clothed man, and she was more and more satisfied, worthy of being a resourceful star. "You really have it, Brother Guo. Then I won't disturb your reading. Go. Creak. The door closed. On Qingguo's face, the complacency gradually disappeared. His face became more and more serious. He looked in the direction of the ancestral temple, and the corner of his mouth slightly raised. Outside the door. "Sure enough, it's just a brainless idiot." The gray-clothed man's expression also changed, revealing an extremely normal face. It seems that the patriarch is too worried. The next time he makes a move, he must die on the spot. After speaking, the gray-clothed man quickly left. Time flew by, and it was a day in the blink of an eye. Early the next morning, "Young master." When he opened the door, he saw Qingru standing at the door, looking at him with a smile on her face. "Little Ru, good morning." Sun Hao smiled and nodded. "Young master, the patriarch called me over and asked you to test the affinity. At present, the clan has gathered, waiting for you to go." Qingru said. "Good." Following Qingru, the two soon came to the ancestral temple. Sun Hao squinted his eyes and couldn't help but be secretly shocked. He saw, on the ancestral temple square, more than 200 people filled the entire square. Seeing that he had arrived, everyone's gazes fell on him. Wow, there was an uproar. At this moment, Sun Hao became the focus of everyone. He is the monster with the supreme talent of the guardian spirit affinity, and from the lower realm? Yes, it's him. There is a mysterious force covering his body, and I can't see through it. What? You have a heavenly eye technique, but you can't see through it. How is this possible? Oh, a small realm of the heavenly eye technique wants to see through the person recognized by the guardian spirit. The whole field was noisy. Under everyone's attention, Sun Hao walked directly to the stage. "Young master, please." Qingmu stepped forward and made a gesture of invitation. Sun Hao nodded slightly and followed Qingmu to a crystal ball. This crystal ball was dark, and there was no light at all. "Young master, this is the heavenly power affinity tester. You only need to put your hand on it, and it will show the information of your whole body's affinity. From low to high, it is 1 to 9 grades, which will light up white, green, pink light." Qingmu tried to introduce it to Sun Hao. Under the stage, everyone's attention was highly focused, all staring at the crystal ball. I don't know what level his affinity has reached, He is a person personally appointed by the guardian spirit. Not to mention the 7th grade. It should at least be the 6th grade. What? 6th grade, even if it's Emo Shui. It's only the 5th grade, okay? Emo Shui is nothing. He is the monster of the guardian spirit's affinity. The sound of discussion continued. Chapter 6:29. In the crowd, Qingguo looked at Sun Hao, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, revealing a face of expectation. The higher your rank, the more convenient it is for me to act. Young master, come on. Qingru clenched her fists and looked at Sun Hao with a fiery face. Can I start? Sun Hao looked at the patriarch and asked. After seeing the patriarch nod, Sun Hao stretched out his hand and was about to press on the crystal ball. At this time, there was a shock. The female statue on the ancestral temple square lit up. The golden light soared into the sky, and the golden light woman condensed. She was like a god looking down from above. Greetings, Lord Guardian Spirit. Except for Sun Hao, everyone knelt down and saluted respectfully. Don't be polite, you continue. The golden light woman was like an outsider, standing calmly and motionless. Thank you, Lord Guardian Spirit. Everyone got up and leaned down slightly. I didn't expect that when he carried out the affinity test, he even shocked Lord Guardian Spirit. Worthy of being the genius chosen by Lord Guardian Spirit, it should be no problem to reach the 5th grade affinity. That goes without saying. Maybe he can reach the 6th grade or even the 7th grade. Everyone looked at Sun Hao without even blinking their eyes. Their hearts were beating with Sun Hao's movements, extremely nervous. Sun Hao stretched out his right hand and pressed it directly on the crystal ball. Quiet, very quiet. Dead silence. The crystal ball in front of Sun Hao didn't react at all. Everyone's eyes widened, staring at the crystal ball. No color, no reaction. What's going on? Is it not even the 1st grade? How is this possible? Even I only have a 1st grade affinity. Everyone's face showed disbelief and surprise. How could this be? Qingmu muttered to himself, unwilling to believe everything in front of him. He took a few long breaths and glanced at the golden light woman, seemingly asking her. At this moment, the golden light woman's face changed slightly, showing a trace of doubt on her face. Soon, she regained her calm. Looking at Qingmu, she said, continue. Yes. Qingmu saluted and walked to Sun Hao. Young master, next, let's carry out the next test. Sun Hao frowned slightly. Looking at everyone's expression, his affinity must be close to 0. Young master, the next test is the body part test. Perhaps a certain part of your body is more hidden, and this instrument is unable to detect it. Qingmu brought Sun Hao to another crystal ball and started to introduce it. Sir, there's a strand of the power of heaven in here. Please try to channel it into your body and see where it stops. Wherever it stops, that place will light up with different colors. The rules are also the same. After Takagi's introduction, Sun Hao quickly understood. Young master, please. Sun Hao nodded slightly, stretched out his hand, and held the crystal ball. Then his mind moved. Phew! In the crystal ball, a wisp of pale red light quickly penetrated into Sun Hao's body. Then it began to swim in his meridians. Sun Hao's mind followed this wisp of red light. In his heart, he was slightly surprised. This energy is on the same level as Saint Qi. Why did it scatter and flow to every part of the body? Moreover, it directly turned into Saint Qi and began to temper my body? No, some kind of power in my body is transforming it, borrowing its energy to lift the seal on my body. Through the inner vision, Sun Hao couldn't help but be secretly surprised. In his body, there was still such power. It seemed that it was left by his previous life. Sun Hao breathed a long sigh of relief and recovered. When he glanced around, he found that everyone's eyes were wide open, showing a look of surprise. What? It disappeared. Where did it light up? What the hell? What the hell is going on? Could it be that Lord Guardian Spirit also made a mistake? Everyone muttered to themselves and swept their eyes on the golden light woman. But they saw her mouth twitching slightly, and her expression was ugly. She opened her mouth, but she didn't finish a word. Phew! The golden light woman turned into a golden light, flew into the statue, and never appeared again. This, Qing Mu smiled awkwardly, showing a touch of embarrassment. Young master, it seems that you came from the lower realm and were born unable to cultivate. Don't be discouraged. Maybe one day you can cultivate. Young master has no place to live at the moment. Stay in my Gumu village first. Qing Mu stepped forward and comforted Sun Hao. How could this be? Qing Ru kept shaking her head, unwilling to believe everything in front of her. As long as it was a person, they all had a grade 1 affinity. And the young master didn't have the slightest affinity. How was this possible? I'm so disappointed. Qing Wu shook her head slightly and sighed secretly. It seems that it still has to be delayed. I didn't expect it to be a waste. I thought our village had a genius. It seems that I thought too much now. If this goes on, our village will be annexed sooner or later. The group of people sighed secretly. Sun Hao looked at Qing Mu and said, Patriarch, can it be that a person's talent test is only based on these two instruments? Young master, what do you mean by this? Qing Mu asked. Just let me see the heavenly power pool and cultivate for an hour. If I really can't cultivate, then I will also give up. Sun Hao said. Now, he needed a lot of heavenly power. As long as he broke 1% of the seal on his body, he could exert a part of his strength. By then, no one in the entire village would be a match for him. Qing Mu's expression turned sluggish, revealing a look of difficulty. Patriarch, can I? Sun Hao asked. Young master, our Gumu village has a rule that one must have a grade 1 affinity to enter the heavenly power pool. Qing Mu said, Patriarch, rules are dead, but people are alive. What if the young master's talent is so monstrous that even the instrument can't detect it? Wouldn't that be a waste of genius? Qing Ru stood up and said loudly. Hearing this, many people nodded slightly, expressing their agreement. Even so, the rules are set by everyone. Even if I'm the patriarch, I can't go against the rules. Qing Mu said, Patriarch, as I said, it's just an hour. It won't affect the heavenly power pool at all. If he is a monstrous talent, it will be of great help to our Gumu village. That's right, Patriarch, give him a chance. I don't think so. Although it won't affect the heavenly power pool if he cultivates, rules are rules. We can't break the rules because of an outsider. That's right, if rules can be broken at will, then what are the rules for? The people in the plaza were immediately divided into two factions. One was in favor, while the other was against. From the looks of it, they were evenly matched, and it was impossible to tell who was stronger. Hearing these arguments, Qing Mu frowned slightly, feeling a headache coming on. All right, stop arguing. As Qing Mu waved his hands, the surroundings gradually quietened down. Chapter 630. Everyone has a point. Since everyone is here, let's vote by a show of hands. As long as the votes are more than half, young Master Sun Hao can enter the heavenly power pond to cultivate for an hour. How about it? Qing Mu said word by word, glancing at the crowd. Everyone listened to this and nodded in unison. No one objected. Okay, now let's vote by a show of hands. I agree to let young master enter the heavenly power pond to cultivate. Qing Mu took the lead to raise his hand. Under his leadership, many people raised their hands. It was sparse, as if there was no more than half. In the crowd, Qing Guo looked at Sun Hao. The corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. Seeing that the counting was about to end, he also slowly raised his hands. Brother Guo, why did you raise your hand too? Beside Qing Guo, a man in gray asked with a puzzled face. What do you know? If he can't cultivate, he will never leave Gumu village. Then how can I have the chance to kill him? I will give him this chance. Qing Guo said with a smile, his eyes revealing cold, killing intent. Brother Guo, good, really good. The man in gray nodded. Then what are you waiting for? Quickly raise your hands. Qing Guo said. Yes. The man in gray also raised his hand. Under Qing Guo's lead, many people raised their hands. Soon, more than half of the people agreed. Great. Qing Ru looked around, her eyes shining. It seems that everyone is willing to give young master a chance. In that case, let's bring young Master Sun Hao into the heavenly power pond to cultivate. Qing Mu said. Wait. At this time, a voice sounded. A rough, strong man walked out of the crowd and stood out. What is the deputy patriarch doing? So many people have agreed. Does he still want to object? Confusion was written on everyone's face. Qing Jiang, what do you want? Qing Mu looked at the rough, strong man, his face showing a trace of displeasure. Qing Mu, I want to make a bet with you. The rough, strong man said. Bet? What kind of bet? Qing Mu showed a trace of confusion. The rough, strong man smiled slightly, stood out directly, and raised his right hand. Just now, those who don't agree with that kid entering the heavenly power pond, stand here. Ding, ding. Soon, many people stood up and came to the rugged man's side. There were even a few who raised their hands and stood beside him. Seeing this, Qing Mu's mouth twitched and his expression became ugly. Greenwood, don't worry. Since we've already made our decision, we can't change it. The bet I want to make with you is actually very simple. We'll bet on whether this kid can cultivate or not. If he's trash and can't cultivate, then let us enter the heavenly power pool to cultivate for 2 hours. As soon as these words came out, how can this be? You can only cultivate in the heavenly power pool once a year. What right do you have to cultivate twice? That's right. How can we make such a bet? Those who had raised their hands in agreement stood up one after another, pointing their fingers at the burly man and criticizing him. The burly man's expression did not change as he smiled at Greenwood. What if I can cultivate? Qing Mu said. If they can cultivate, then those who agree to let them in can enter the heavenly power pool to cultivate for 2 hours. Why wouldn't I dare? Do you think this kid is trash? If that's the case, then the rules can't be broken. Prohibit this kid from entering to cultivate. The burly man pointed at Sun Hao and said loudly. His voice clearly reached everyone's ears. Patriarch, don't bet with him. That's right. Why should we listen to him? Those who had just raised their hands in agreement stood up one after another and began to persuade. Qing Mu stood in place with an ugly expression. He didn't expect that Qing Jiang would still use this trick. It seemed that it was really not simple. Let's bet. After thinking for a while, Qing Mu nodded and agreed. Patriarch, you can't. Patriarch, if they enter to cultivate, there won't be enough people to cultivate at the end of this year. Patriarch, think twice. Many people knelt down. Even some white-haired old men showed an appearance of old tears. Everyone was persuading Qing Mu. I'm the patriarch. I have the final say. Don't talk anymore. As soon as Qing Mu released his aura, everyone's face was terrified and didn't dare to say half a word. Good, good. The burly man clapped his hands. Patriarch is really bold. Lead the way. Qing Mu snorted coldly and looked back at Sun Hao. Young master, this old man can only do so much. Whether you can cultivate successfully or not, it all depends on young master's luck. Qing Mu said, Thank you, patriarch. I will remember this kindness in my heart. Sun Hao said. When Qing Mu heard this, he showed a face full of joy and looked at Sun Hao as if he was looking at a treasure. He always had a feeling that the young master in front of him must be extraordinary. Maybe there will be unexpected results. Now, he could only take a gamble. Young master, please. Okay. Sun Hao nodded slightly and followed behind Qing Mu. Young master, you can definitely cultivate. Qing Mu ran up, held Sun Hao's arm with an excited face, and said with a smile, I hope so. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something. If I use heavenly power, I can unlock the seal on my body. Then primordial chi should also work. I'll try it later. Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Sun Hao followed Qing Mu and walked into the ancestral temple. Buzz, opening a secret door, everyone walked in. After walking 7 and 8 times and passing through layers of rune restrictions, the group finally entered the underground. In front of Sun Hao, there was a huge pool. Next to it, there was a stone tablet sign with the words, Heavenly Power Pool. In the pool, the pale, red water rippled. See, strands of heavenly power, like tadpoles drilling and swimming, made people's eyes shine. The surrounding rock walls were engraved with various ancient runes, forming a shield covering the entire pool. It seemed that the heavenly power pool was like a treasure. Sun Hao looked at these runes and couldn't help but frown slightly. These runes are always a little weird, a little different from the ancient runes. Sun Hao looked at the runes on the stone wall, secretly surprised. Young master, wait a moment, Qing Mu said to Sun Hao. After speaking, he turned around and looked back at the four men behind him. You guys open the big formation. Yes, Patriarch. The four men stepped forward, mobilized the heavenly power in their bodies, and guided it to the tip of their tongues. At this moment, the big formation should be opened. Open it for me. Let the young master in. Others are not allowed to enter. The four men were practitioners of Fa Xiang. Under the efforts of their mouths, a gap was broken on the big formation, just enough for one person to pass through. Chapter 631. Sun Hao looked at the four men in front of him and was secretly surprised. These four people were the ones he saw on the square of Gumu village yesterday. They were the cultivators of the technique. Young master, please. Qing Mu made a gesture of invitation. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Looking at the pool of heavenly power, his eyes bloomed with a strange light. He secretly took out a sacred origin bead and placed it in his palm. Wow, he leaped down? Sun Hao jumped into the heavenly power pool. Young master, these are all cultivation methods. You can choose at will. Qing Mu waved his right hand. An array of light poured into Sun Hao's body. Subsequently, it formed a book of cultivation methods for Sun Hao to choose. Sun Hao looked at these cultivation methods and nodded slightly. Thank you, Patriarch. He clenched the sacred origin bead and began to absorb. However, he found that he couldn't absorb it even after exhausting all methods. It seemed to be rejected by some force. It seems that only heavenly power will not be rejected by the seal of heavenly power. In that case, let's devour crazily. Sun Hao's body was like a carp, directly drilling into the bottom of the water. Then he sat up cross-legged. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but change their faces. Oh my God, this kid doesn't want to live, dare to sink to the bottom of the heavenly power pool? Don't worry about him. We just need to watch the show, and soon we can enter the heavenly power pool to cultivate. The voice of ridicule kept ringing. Qing Mu looked at Sun Hao with a touch of worry on his face. However, he quickly recovered. How? Suddenly, a dragon's roar shook the entire heavenly power pond. The surface of the entire heavenly power pool began to rotate. Oh, strands of heavenly power, like lightning, drilled into Sun Hao's body. Z. The sound of ZZ made people's scalp tingle. Such a scene, everyone's face changed slightly when they saw it. Oh my God, he is crazily absorbing heavenly power. If this goes on, he will finish absorbing it in an hour at most. In that case, the heavenly power pool will be destroyed, where we go to cultivate in the future. Patriarch, quickly think of a way. Everyone's face was full of worry. They all stared at Qing Mu. Qing Mu shook his head slightly, showing a helpless expression. There is no way. He can trigger the explosion of heavenly power, and we can't get close at all. Unless he stops cultivating and gets up on his own, Greenwood said. Everyone had dispirited expressions. Amidst the worry, there was also a trace of joy. The burly man stood where he was. One moment he was proud, the next moment he was sad. Although they lost, they can't cultivate. Sigh, we won't be able to cultivate at the end of this year. The rugged man sighed again and again, looking dispirited. Behind the crowd, Qing Wu's eyes shone brightly as she witnessed this scene. Great, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This time, I have absolute confidence. Qing Wu's eyes shone with a strange light. He stepped back carefully. Even if he left, no one would be alerted. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on Sun Hao. They followed the whistling of the heavenly energy, their hearts pounding violently. Young master, I knew you weren't simple. Sure enough, our Gumu village is saved. Qing Wu murmured to herself, her face filled with excitement. Sun Hao sensed the heavenly power flowing in his body, and his whole person was extremely excited. He could clearly feel the seal on his body crumbling bit by bit. His physical strength was rapidly recovering. This absorption lasted for an entire hour. The originally light red pool water had completely become clear and transparent. The pool water gradually calmed down. Hua! Sun Hao sat in the pool water as usual, motionless. Around him, an incomparably majestic power was revolving around his body. Although all the heavenly power had been converted, but it would take some time for it to be completely used up. All attracted, why hasn't he come up yet? What is he doing? Everyone looked at Sun Hao puzzled. Everyone shut up, don't disturb the young master's cultivation. Qing Mu shouted loudly, and the surroundings suddenly quieted down. More than 200 people stood beside the pool, all staring at Sun Hao. Boom! Suddenly there was an explosion. It shook the entire pool water, and it was buzzing and trembling. Everyone was startled by the sound. What's going on? Will someone attack our Gumu village? What are you afraid of with the guardian spirit? Who can be his opponent? Yes, don't worry. Soon, everyone calmed down and no longer worried. Boom! There was another loud noise, and the top of the rock wall fell. The entire pool water was shaking violently. At this moment, how could everyone still be calm? Go out with me and have a look. Qing Mu took the lead, took a step forward, and rushed to the ground. At this moment, no one was idle, and they all used all their skills, madly running away. Even the rough and strong man, at this moment, also led everyone to run out. Grandma Bear actually dared to attack my Gumu village. Don't want to live? Brothers, charge. The rough and strong man took the lead and quickly disappeared in the passage. Young master, come on. Qing Ru glanced at Sun Hao, then quickly left without looking back. Soon, everyone came to the ground. Seeing the scene in front of them, their pupils shrank and their faces changed dramatically. Only to see, on the ancestral square, the guardian spirit statue had collapsed into powder. The guardian spirit turned into a golden woman, fighting with a man. And this man was no one else. It was Qinghua. Ha ha! Qinghua looked up to the sky and laughed crazily. Guardian spirit, you are now rootless water. Your heavenly power, sooner or later, will be used up. I advise you to obediently surrender. This way you still have a chance to live. Qinghua threw a punch, causing the guardian spirit to continuously retreat. Don't even think about it. The golden woman coldly snorted and once again rushed forward, fighting with Qinghua. This scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. Their eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. Qinghua, you are crazy. How dare you hit the guardian spirit? Stop it quickly. The rough and strong man shouted towards the sky, and with one step, he instantly appeared in front of Qinghua. He used his physical body to block his path. Move! Qinghua's voice was cold, and his killing, intense sword. He raised his fist and punched. Boom! The rough and strong man flew out like a kite with a broken string and crashed heavily onto the ground, his face covered in dirt. What? The deputy chief was sent flying with one punch. What realm has this Qinghua reached? No, he is not Qinghua. The real Qinghua is probably long dead. Then, isn't he a traitor? How is that possible? What are you guys waiting for? Charge with me. More than 200 villagers, under Qing Mu's lead, each used their special skills and attacked Qinghua together. Whoosh! All kinds of dazzling lights flew toward the green fruit at the same time.